Welcome everybody to Light as a Feather, Kemetism for the Modern Polytheist. So here is my lovely guest today. Amber has been a practicing Kemetic for 7+ years and started her priestess path with Set just a few years ago. Other than being a Kemeticist, Kemeticism, see, I can't read it even if I can't spell it either. Amber Joy plays video games with her husband and younger brother, spending time with her 2 cats, and she's also an artist and enjoys making jewelry and other pieces for the Neteru. You can find her, I have both of her usernames below. The Desert Rose Gaming is on Twitch, and the Desert Rose Goddess is over on TikTok. She's trying to get to 10,000 followers, guys. Go follow her on TikTok. And we are going to get started if you are ready. Don't be nervous. And then this is another thing, which I'm sure Amber's followers know this, but my followers, Kemeticism is a religion, so everyone's got to follow the chat rules, or else you're going to get booted. And I'm going to have to figure out how to boot you because I don't usually do it, but I'm going to have to figure it out. So be respectful, ask respectful questions. And if you think it's going to be unrespectful, don't ask it, or ask it in a nice way. Okay? Okay? Everyone got this? Got this? Thank you, Dangon, for the follow. Welcome, everybody. Nat can be there to boot. That is true. Nat is here to boot as well. This just happens sometimes when no one's here. I don't know how to do it. It's just like hysterically, like I've lovingly relied on my mods for so great things, and I'm like, I don't know how to do it. All right, so let me put up the slideshow.
I have to remind myself this is not different from what I do on my own.
This is not.
It's not different at all. And
this is not different.
Although, am I allowed giving a disclaimer before I start?
Absolutely. Go for it. I'm gonna make
I already told my patrons this, but I am going to be saying the Nope Rope's name for educational purposes. So if you don't want to hear that, I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
I will very much like an explanation of what that is, though, if you don't mind.
You guys will get the explanation. Don't
okay,
worry.
Perfect.
Because I think actually that's one of the questions.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm just making sure this is not popping up. Come on, I know you can do it. Do it! We tested this.
Ouch! Oh, I just hit my foot off my desk.
For everyone who has been here with us, the guest star, which has been a beta for such a long time, they decided to do an update, and Melissa didn't check it, and now we're learning new things.
It's okay. It's fine. Honestly, I was so afraid of this being like super strict, super like down to the point, and I think that's why I'm so nervous about it.
Why is it not showing? I hate everything. Okay.
Maybe if I go this close.
You're fine. It's that the PowerPoint won't show. And I'm just like...
Everyone's saying that my audio is quiet, so I'm like, oh no!
Okay.
I'm very soft-spoken, too, so that's why I'm like, should I just be this close?
The other thing is that I don't... I use the desktop audio, so I'm also hearing it from my speakers and not my headphones, so if there is also an echo, let me know. I don't really know how to fix it, but I can try.
I think that was so difficult to figure out. Like,
the whole thing is that, like, I used to wear my headphones, like, all the time, and then when I started doing the Twitch or the TikTok live, I never was really going, nobody could hear the audio and stuff, and so I just was like, oh, I'll just take off my headphones and then everyone can hear it, but then that usually leaves an echo somewhere.
Hi, Teresa.
Okay, we're having technical difficulties, my loves. What I want it to do. I know. It's just, it won't, I literally set this up and it just worked. Hello, Freya. Welcome. Technical difficulties.
Whenever I have like technical difficulties, I cry to Jehudi.
He should know better.
He's probably put me on mute by now. It's alright.
Really trying to... Okay. this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna do what I did before, which hopefully will work. Yes. Okay. Can you still see it? That's the test.
I can see it fine.
Okay, you can see it. Okay. This is what I normally do, but it's being weird. Okay.
Jehudi.
Yes, Jehudi. Okay. So just let me know when you need me to change the slide and such, and I will be quiet. And everyone, remember to use the lecture questions, channel points for any questions. Welcome. Go for it.
Oh no. You be safe, King. Thank you for stopping in.
Hi, King. Thank you so much for hopping in.
All right. Okay. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to my lecture about Kemetism. Yay!
Yay! Also, tell me to shut up if I interrupt you at all, or if I say too much.
No,
Sometimes I'm like, if you want to do the full PowerPoint and you don't want me to say anything, I will. But sometimes I'll interject, and you can tell me to shut up openly, and I will.
Make it as fun as you want it, because I'm actually really nervous.
Cool beans.
Honestly, this is kind of giving me like speech class PTSD right now. So I'm like,
yeah, no, we don't need that. I never took a public speaking class, but I had a teacher who was a public speaking teacher and made our English class a public speaking English class, and I hated her. So we're not going to do that. We're going to be chill. This is a conversation.
I love this. Okay. Breathe. I just also have to like take my time with it, because I was practicing before we started.
Go for it. You can take as long as you want. Absolutely. And actually, we're starting right on time. It's only like 8:05, so.
It's good. Thanks, Ash. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I think next slide. I think I'll work.
All right. Perfect.
What will be covered? Yay. I'm going to cover a little bit about the priesthood in antiquity. I think it's really fun. And then I'll do a very brief history of what Kemeticism and how it got its start, because there's not much out there other than what I have. And then I'll go into what is Kemeticism and what we do. And I'll talk about shrines and our altar spaces and share a little bit of the diversity within shrines and things. I'll teach you a little bit about how to connect to the divine, and then I'll talk about what I do as a priestess.
Perfect.
Thank you, Teresa. I love you guys. Thanks. So, the priesthood in antiquity. The ancient Egyptians understood how the world worked. So they also understood how everything, who was responsible for its operation, knew how to behave accordingly. They believed that their gods had prevailed over the forces of chaos through the creation of the world, and that the Nachiru relied upon their help to maintain Ma'at. And while everyone maintained order, the priesthood were the ones that were responsible for honoring and caring for the Nachiru daily. The priesthood did not preach, they did not interpret scripture or hold weekly services, like how the modern clergy does today. The priesthood was already established in the early dynastic period, and it truly developed during the Old Kingdom. And it became a major institution in Egyptian society, from larger temples employing up to 300 men and women to the smallest temples employing up to 80 priests. The priesthood was...
Can you see it? It's cut off. I'm sorry. I just realized that,
important part.
I don't know why that is.
I think it says important part.
Now can you see that?
In daily life for some people. I put it this way just so I don't forget to. Yeah. I don't forget the stuff. Because if I just do bullet points, I was going to forget it. No, girl, I write full scripts for myself, where I read pretty much the same thing. So, absolutely. Hi, Rahab. Welcome. All right. All right. However, also unlike the Western world today, the priests in ancient Egypt were fully integrated into all aspects of society. they could live in villages and they could get married and have kids, and they didn't always commit to being priests for the duration of their lives.
Sorry, excuse my
Nope.
Indiana Jones.
I
Thank
don't
you,
care.
thank you, Finchy, for the follow. Welcome. I need to remember how to turn alerts off, things like this. So.
Nope. If I hear it, I'll stop. That way,
That's fine.
I don't talk over it. But
Keep going.
that shit slaps.
I know. We love Indy. There are times where I've only ever had that one like horrible follow bot thing where like everyone like gets follow bot, but we just embrace it and we just listen to the Indiana Jones theme song like over and over and over and over and over and over. Like yeah, we just were like yeah, this is fine. This is perfect. What we need to have is just we're just gonna listen to it over and over again and just bop to it. Thank you,
Yes.
Ash, and also thank you. You got us to our follower goal of 1,400. Woohoo! Thank you.
Yay! Melissa!
Yay! Next
I'm so happy
goal,
for you.
1,500. We literally, I just keep the goal going. It just always goes.
Yeah, do it. That's fun.
Good job, guys. Thank you so much for following.
Yay!
All right.
That's fun. Hold on.
Priests and priestesses are definitely a very interesting thing because
Right?
they're very like it is very interesting, and I wish I could talk more about this in this like when you're talking about the antiquity part, because there is like one relatively theory that the ancient Egyptians were much more secular than people think they are and such. And I have this one article, and I'm reading it over again because I read it years ago to make a TikTok about it. But it obviously that doesn't really apply to the priesthood as much because obviously they that was their job. They're going to keep doing it and stuff. But it is just interesting to think that like there are these people that it is their job to do all of these things when the rest of the Egyptian world might not be like that, which is kind of obviously how our world is now, where there are people whose their job is to do it. But in my mindset, it's a much more closed society, so that's weird for something like in a very closed society that like in one city there could be just so many people that are like, yeah, I don't really care that you're a priest or a priestess and stuff. So it's very interesting to me to think about the duality of the possibility that the vast population was not very religious, and yet some of the highest people in the society were considered the most. Very, very little. Really interesting.
Yeah, that's fun. That's actually really fun to think about.
Yeah, it's I think it kind of blows a giant bomb onto like what we think, how you picture ancient Egypt. And
Yeah.
it's something that people ask me a lot when I mention it, and like it's not a very popular theory. It's essentially, I think there's literally only this one article by Dr. Barry Kemp, but it makes a little bit more sense when I think about it, because it's just like it's how you live, like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, then that makes me think about like, man, because one thing I didn't put into the PowerPoint because I kind of forgot was about purity, because the priests would like purify themselves multiple times a day.
Bathe and shave. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then like they would go take there was like baths and stuff on site that they would go, and it was purified water. They purify themselves, and then they can go and take care of the gods and all this stuff and give them their offerings. And it was just one of those things where I forgot to put it in there, but I wanted to say something.
Mm-hmm.
But because that's a lot different than you see in modern times. Like that's not realistic. There's no way I'm gonna go.
Well,
Take a
also,
bath every single time.
I hate to
you
say
know?
it, what is the Egyptian equivalent of purified water?
Yeah.
Is it? I highly doubt that they could get purified water, at least like at maybe on our standards. I'm like, what is it? Purified water, like no scum on top of it, but it's probably still like brown. I'm like, I just like, I think obviously purified water is technically something that is relatively easy and achievable, but I'm curious as to what their definition of purified water was in comparison.
I don't know. Did it? I thought that they would get it from like the Nile and then do some.
It's like
I can't
I mean,
remember, but
I mean, yeah, like that's the only place they could have gotten it. But it's just like what made that change? Like what did they do to change it to consider it like purified? Is that just putting it in a bath? That it's a special bath in in the temple or something. Because the other thing is, so HD and HB brought up what I was just about to say, where it's like the ancient Egyptians drank, the reason that one of their main drinking sources was beer is because the water was not good quality. And like, because it just isn't. Because if you're just drinking out of any random river, like there's a high chance that it's not going to be really nice unless you live in like, I don't know, Switzerland or like and like Fiji, you know, like where all the purified water like springs come from and stuff. Oh, the temple bath is a sacred lake. Yeah, that also. And the sacred lakes, sometimes they're attached and sometimes they're not. So it's like, where the heck are they getting that water? It's probably stagnant. Oh God, sorry. It's just like so gross to think about.
Maybe they just made it into beer and just dipped themselves into it.
Because honestly, beer in ancient Egypt was just taking the raw dough for bread that wasn't baked, and you slap it on the side of like a big ceramic pot, and then you pour water into it, and then you'll leave it there for a little bit. So, yeah, stagnant with people washing it just sounds literally the worst. It sounds quite literally the worst thing I've ever heard. Saltwater, I mean, saltwater would be possible if you're living... Wait, no. We talked about this. Is the Mediterranean saltwater? Mediterranean's not saltwater. No, I don't think it is. It's a sea. I don't think it is. We've talked about this before on stream, and I totally forgot what the answer is. But I don't think the Egyptians would have had any access to saltwater. Because I don't think the Red Sea is... Ah, right. Red Sea might be saltwater.
I'd have to look.
Their only sources of water are... It's a sea, so it is saltwater. Okay, so, yes. So, you don't... But still, you'd only have access if you lived up in the delta. Or if you are transporting water, which... I don't know. I kind of highly... It's possible. It's definitely possible.
It could be.
But I kind of doubt it, but it's possible. I mean, to me, if like we're talking Thebes, I would presume they're getting that from the Red Sea rather than all the way from the Mediterranean, because at least you have the I can't remember what the name of the wadi is, but there's a wadi that an old ancient riverbed that attaches from the Nile to the Red Sea, and so it's a really big highway and stuff. The Med is more saltier than the sea. Okay, I was in the Mediterranean and I did not. How did I not realize it was saltwater? Well, yeah, but obviously they had access to the water in the Red Sea, so it's obviously possible either way.
It could be, yeah. And then I would think maybe they blessed it. I mean, the way that I would do it, I know I'm jumping ahead because I kind of but the only time I do it is if I do rituals. Like if
I guess that is true.
I don't even like.
They could purifying it could technically just mean taking any water and blessing it, like holy water.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that it is
basically what
purified.
It is.
I guess purified in that more not a literal sense. I guess in a more metaphorical, it is pure because we blessed it and stuff. They could have, HD. They absolutely could have, but I don't know. When we're probably taking whatever special word that is purified water, when we've translated it, I don't know if we have the access to know whether or not that is they are actually purifying it, or it is pure water, it is the blessed water, like that's just we put that word on it, but doesn't necessarily mean the same connotation as what a purified water is today. So like I think they definitely could have. Hi Mark.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, Mark.
Mark's our bioarchaeologist friend. Thank you for joining us. I know it's raining and apparently storming where you are all the time.
I wish it was stormy here, I'm not gonna lie.
That's true. It rained a little bit today.
Up here.
Yeah. Rahab, you're right too, yeah. The priesthood would have been funded by the pharaoh, and so yeah, they would have the possibility that they would have been able to afford to do something like extra by like getting seawater or by having some lower servant, some lower assistant apprentice like just boiling water over and over again. Yeah, like the possibilities are quite endless, especially if we're talking about like a huge temple of Amun or something like that. Absolutely.
Right.
All right. You want to continue? Continue on?
Sure.
Rob, I'm so sorry. It's all so much sweat at the end of the day. so gross to think about. But I guess. Well, actually, no, Rahab. It would be Hapi's sweat, because Hapi is the god of the Nile.
Oh yeah.
It would be
Yeah,
it would be
Hapi.
Hapi's all of his liquids, which is so gross. I can't believe I said
Delicious.
that. Holds up the mummy juice mug. Delicious.
Wob priest translates to pure one, I do believe. It's
Wob,
on
yeah.
the next slide.
Yeah, Wob is pure for everything, and it's got the little bottle of water pouring out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But the priests weren't expected to serve as an example of religiously dictated behavior. So most priests were expected to serve the Nachido only part-time, and they could revert to their professions when they weren't in the temples. Qualification for the priesthood appears to have been based on the individual's knowledge on the priest's role and specific duties, since there's both lack of strictures and behavior expected of priests and the part-time nature of most positions. Identifying what characterized a priest is difficult. There wasn't really an official ordination or a special dress for the priests unless they were of higher ranks.
Nothing like the leopard print we love.
Right.
It's just it's one of those things that, like, with Egyptian art history, like, they do kind of these shortcuts, like, and essentially in a way, which are things that I'm going to talk about on my Patreon, but it, like, the whole thing is, like, they make these shortcuts for people who obviously can't read, which is the vast majority of people, so that you can just tell automatically who a person is by their outfits, by their crown, by their skin tone, by anything. They do these little shortcuts, and so, like, even if, like, yes, it's the higher priest, but it's just like, you see leopard skin, priest. You see bald head, priest. Right. Like, it's just like things like that. It's just like, it's so easy to figure it out really quickly.
Honestly, I feel like it would make it easier for us too. Like, they're just like making it easy for
well, I mean, in the weird way, technically, yeah. Like, if you see a Catholic priest, he might have the collar, but, like, granted, they don't wear those all the times. But, like, nuns and, like, obviously women who wear hijabs, like, those are things that are, like, these identifying characteristics that, if you are part of that religion, that it's associated with it. But then there are obviously people who, like, you would never know. But it's kind of that half and half kind of thing.
I think it's neat.
I think it is, yeah.
I love the priesthood of ancient Egypt.
It's something I haven't really had a lot of time to delve in on. That's why when you were like, can I talk about the priesthood? I was like, yes, please, because like I know the basics, and I know some things, but, like, I would love any other insight, and then just talking about the differences as well when we get to that part. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, very fun. But speaking of Wob priests, we're going to talk about priestly ranks. They were organized into ranks, which each with their own specific duty and responsibilities, which also included privileges and having varying levels of access to parts of the temple.
We're good. Thank you, Alex, for resubscribing. You're fine yesterday. We don't Windstorm phone lines. They don't need them. We were good yesterday. I'm glad you're here tonight.
Yell at set. Why Windstorm?
Yeah, I know. Everything is, like, going on. Like, that's just just can't. Too many things going on.
It's okay. No, shit happens.
Shit happens.
Right. Let me start with the Wob priest.
Okay, Mark. I love you guys. Stop doing it over and over again. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Y'all are lovely. I love you.
No, I'm just waiting for another one.
No, I was gonna say, well, now that the hype train thing is close, and I'm like, don't do it, but don't do it. I love you. No, I need to. These are like the logistical things that I just have to figure out. That, like, I need a button to, like, turn off all the alerts or mute all the alerts. They still pop up, but mute it, like, when I'm doing a lecture, because this stuff keeps happening. And I can't remember one of the lectures we had. Every time we had an alert, the volume was at an astronomical level, and I didn't know how to fix it, and I was like, I can't. And then, but I didn't know when it was gonna happen, obviously, so I just had to like be there really quick to like lower it down and stuff. No, Alex. It's funny. It's funny.
It's just one of those things where you just have to like get the phone.
Melissa doesn't know audio. Yes. All right.
Just reading chat. So.
I know. Yeah. Alex is trying too hard. It is. Yeah. You would think I've been on Twitch coming up on 3 years now, and we would think I would learn how to do audio, but I don't. It's hard.
It's confusing.
Well, I'm hoping eventually I'll get a better computer so that I can do the Twitch or the TikTok live also on the TikTok studio, so that it will also be on my computer, so then I can focus on the audio and such, and maybe try to figure that out. I don't know.
Whenever I try to do it with my Streamlabs and TikTok studio, I can't use my webcam for both of them.
You gotta, so I used to use Streamlabs, but I don't use it anymore. If you do OBS, which like, it's a little bit more mature, but it took me maybe a year and I converted everything over. On OBS, you have a thing called virtual camera. So for this, so that you're able to see me, which actually, what you're seeing is actually the flipped version of me. My bookshelf is not on that side, it's on this side. It says my virtual camera is on so that I can use it on two. Streamlabs does not have that ability, and I found that out later, that it's like, yeah.
I might be switching.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the big things of why I changed from Streamlabs to OBS. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but I could help you. Yeah. But yeah, there is something called virtual camera, and I looked it up later, and I was like, oh, Streamlabs doesn't have that. Only OBS has that. So.
Okay. Good to know.
Yes.
Uh-oh. I learned something new today.
Absolutely. All right. Feel free to continue.
Okay. We're going to start with Law Priests, which translates to Pure One. It was the most common rank, and the title most priests carried. There were even regular law priests and great law priests. This rank wore no distinguishing clothing or hairstyles, and they served in both temples and tombs, and they were responsible for supplying the funeral and tomb chapel with offerings inside the temple. Offerings, that's a period, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Inside the temple, law priests were charged with carrying offerings and are listed among the priests involved in the daily offering services. Though, due to their low rank, they weren't allowed access to the inner portion of the temple.
Can't
It's alright. The Hemka, or the servants of the Ka, were low-ranking priests who carried food and other offerings in funerary rituals and weren't dressed in any distinguishing clothes. These priests act as custodians and executors of endowments left by individuals to ensure that the offerings were left daily in a donor's tombs, and this rank could be passed through the family.
Maddie Home just called them the underworld door dashers, and that is literally the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah.
That is hilarious.
That is so goddamn funny. Oh my god, it's exactly what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
If you want to do my Patreon course, we're gonna talk about the Ka Opper statue briefly, because I don't have a lot of time, but we love Ka Opper. He's really cool.
He's really cool in person too.
I know. I gotta get there. It's gonna be. It's coming up in February. Hopefully, I will be there. So.
Oh,
yes.
Keep me updated. I want to know.
I know, and I might ask you for suggestions. I forgot that you've been there as well. Because I'm going with my dad, and we're trying. I need to I think we can pick whatever date or whatever, and the thing we're trying to figure out is if we want to stay in Giza or in Cairo, because we see both pluses and minuses for doing both of those, and it's kind of I'm not going with a tour group. We're trying to just vibe it by ourselves and such, and there are hotels that he can get slight discounts on, but they're only in Cairo, and so it's I see the pluses and minuses of it. They're close enough. Like Giza will be the more touristy place, but like I still want to go see modern day Cairo. I want to do things like that and stuff. And so, any recommendations I will take.
I do have a good recommendation for Giza Hotel though.
No, I will take it. Like anything, because it's just like, to be honest, like me and my dad are looking at them and like, they all look great. Like it's like, I will take anything.
It's the one that we stayed in, and honestly, they treated us like family. So
no, that's great. That's just what I need.
It was like a family business, and they were just fantastic. So
send me that link. Absolutely.
I will do that.
Yeah.
I will do that. If I forget, just message me on Discord. Like, hey, where's my link?
I will. Because that's like the next task I have to do is like actually pick the date so that I can ask for off and all that stuff and actually get it finalized.
I'm excited for you.
I know.
I can't wait to go back.
I'm like it doesn't really feel real, so I need to book something so that it does feel real and like actually like be able to plan it. But we'll be doing quite a few subathons to help fund getting over there, and you'll get fun gifts that I'll bring back from you from Egypt for you if people join the subathon. So, but yeah, we like Copper. Copper is cool.
Fake for the underworld Uber.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. He's kind of like, he's the taxi driver. Yeah, I think that's a on Uber. Which honestly, no, it should be in poop in poober. Fucking god. This is the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life.
Oh my god.
I was trying to connect the U already, so like it is on Uber, but Inpu is his name, and my god. Yeah, all the other goddesses, they all work for on Uber. On Uber is definitely funny. Impoober sounds like a weird like Winnie the Pooh thing, but I don't know why, but it honestly says like in Pooh Bear. That's what it sounds like. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to Lector Priest, as I'm literally crying about how funny that was. Oh my god. I thought about it, and then, you think about it and you're laughing as you're saying it, because you just can't, you know it's gonna sound stupid. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Okay.
Ask your doctor about On Pooper. Asking your doctor if On Pooper is right for you.
With all the really long disclaimers.
On Pooper might take you to the afterlife and leave you there. It might eat your heart. It's like, the disclaimer that you might not come back from your On Pooper. You might not be able to call On Pooper back. May result in loss of heart, yes.
May result in loss of heart.
Oh, it's so goddamn good. Oh my god, Rahab. Rahab always makes me laugh. Oh my god.
It's so good.
The hieroglyphic fine print. Damn, if I was a good video editor, I would make this right now, and that would be a TikTok, and I would go viral, and it'd be great. But
that would be great.
That would be so funny. Oh my god. Dying.
Like nobody can read the fine print because it's entirely.
Yeah, it's in higher. Yeah, that's the whole point, is so that you don't know that it secretly is going to steal your heart and take your soul, but it's in hieroglyphs. So like, hey, like, well, okay, we're just not gonna be able to read it. That's fine. Love that. All right,
Okay.
Lector Priests.
Lector priests. They were distinguished by their ability to read, so they could read the disclaimer.
They could. One of very few could. Absolutely.
And their main duty was to recite specialized religious texts in both temple and mortuary rituals. They did wear a sash crossed from the shoulder to the hip. And in the Old Kingdom, lectors were often members of the royal family, but by the Middle Kingdom, it widened to include any literate man. There are texts stating that lector priests were important enough to announce the prenomen of the pharaoh during his coronation.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and Copper is a lector priest. He's chilling over there in the Cairo Museum.
Yeah, this definitely a
museum because his eyes.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. His eyes are beautiful. But he's in the way that I've kind of organized my like the two middle lectures are all looking at art, and I'm essentially in this course I'm trying to make it so that anybody can go to a museum and without looking at the label you'll be able to tell what time period it's coming from, and just talking about like the focuses and what each time period was mainly focused on. But he is in the exceptions section for the Old Kingdom, because he is not the thin idealized standard. He is what we consider more a possibility of being a more realistic figure, with his full figure and stuff. So he's in my every time period will have a exceptions group of like things just to know, like this guy, you might look at him and you might think, because the thing is there is no period that is all realistic, so it's just like there's no period where they're like that's what we're gonna choose. So every period has their own exceptions, and it's usually just like one or two statues, and then it makes you think that maybe the person had some sort of agency to be able to be like, yeah, can I have it like this, please, and not like the rest of him. But yeah, the whole statue would have been probably plastered and painted as well, so it would have looked pretty different than this one.
I think, if I remember, I can't remember right, but I think there's still some paint on it.
There's probably some. Well, actually, oh wait, he's wooden. He might have been plastered. He might have just been painted. Usually most of the stone statues would have been plastered and painted because you can't really paint directly on the stone. But yeah, he might have just been painted. But I think there is still some.
I can't remember.
It's probably in the little nooks and crannies.
Probably.
But
he was just so like enamored by his eyes that that's what you kind of focus on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And there aren't very many good pictures of him. I was trying to find a full picture of him, and granted, it's mostly because the Egyptian Museum doesn't have like the best lighting and they're all in the glass cases, so the reflection is pretty bad and stuff. But like, I haven't been able to find like a very good like full. There's some great like face photos of him, but I really was trying to get the full figured photo, and I couldn't really find any. Like even this one, you can't. The color of the wood is not this color that's in the photo. It is a little. It's more brown.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yes, Maddie, we'll be getting to those.
Yes.
We will be getting to them soon.
I think it's on the next.
Probably.
The next slide.
Yeah.
It's on the next slide. But
let's talk about God's Father.
I can't wait till you go.
I know.
So.
I know. I can't wait.
God's Father.
God's Father.
This title is from the Old Kingdom and was associated with men who were related to the royal family, usually as father-in-laws, and less commonly the son-in-law. But by the 18th dynasty in the New Kingdom, this title designated a specific priest rank and no longer meant that they were related to the royal family. They wore no distinctive clothes, but they are mentioned in both temple and mortuary texts, where they participated with other priests in daily offerings. This rank is arranged in hierarchies with ranks of first, second, and third, and are most associated with services of Min, Amun, and Ptah. They were associated with the delivery of food and supplies to the temple and inspection of the temple property.
Very cool. That's not one that I've heard that much about. I've definitely heard of lector priests, but it Netcher, yeah, which would be yeah, the father is weird in Egyptian, where it's spelled with an F, but you don't say the F, or is it the other way around? I can't remember. I can't
remember either.
It's either. I think it's not. I think it has the little viper snake, but then you don't say it. There's something weird about the word for father. I completely forgot about that until now.
I think you're right, because I think I remember seeing the viper snake on it. But
yeah.
I'm still kind of learning hieroglyphs.
Believe me, it's a struggle, and I every time we're doing it is it's not always silent, the viper snake, because that's the F in Middle Egyptian. It is, so that's the whole thing. If I remember correctly, it is, you write it F, you write it the viper snake, the reed leaf Oh, you're kidding. Okay. Just making sure, Maddie. Maddie's another archaeologist, so. But yeah, I think it's spelled viper snake, reed leaf, and bread loaf, but you don't write. It's one or the other. It's either you do say the F, or they don't write the horned viper, and it is fit instead of it. I can't remember. I'll look it up one day. We'll get you the answer.
This one came from the Religion and Ritual in Ancient Egypt by Emily Teeter. This is where
Oh,
my
okay.
information came from.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, I know. I recognize that name. I wonder if I have that one. I don't know if I do.
It's one of the books that I always recommend, New Kemetics, because it's an easier read.
And that is an absolute, like, total valid point. Because a lot of Egyptology books are not accessible. Also, I just realized I forgot that we had ads, and I'm supposed to I'm supposed to shut up at ads. So if anybody missed anything, we were just talking about the F. We were trying to figure out if father is, you pronounce, it's written as fit, or it is I can't remember. If it has the horned viper and you don't pronounce the F, or if it doesn't have the horned viper and you are supposed to pronounce the F. And then she recommended a book by Emily Teeter, which is where she's getting all this information. What's the name of that one again?
Religion and Ritual by in Ancient Egypt.
In Ancient Egypt.
Religion and Ritual in Ancient Egypt by Emily Teeter. It's in my sources at the end of this, so you'll see it again.
Star, save that question for in the second, and then we will. Oh, I think we're going to talk about that a little later, Mark. But that's a very good question. I do not know, because that is not my... I was going to say, I feel like Alexandria would know a little bit about that and such. Backstage Faye, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, that's a... I don't know anything really what even Hellenistic paganism even is, unfortunately, so we will talk about that.
A little bit, but not much.
Yes. All right, let's...
I did have the Ewan Mutef priest underneath the Sem priest, because it is in the book, but I didn't include it. So, because it was just so little, I was just like,
not as well known.
Just not include this one. But it is in the book. If you want me to read about it, I can. I can grab the book and I can read it for you.
Okay. We got so much to talk about, guys. So let's.
Yeah.
We have a lot.
I'm sorry.
No. Everyone can ask questions, but we just got a lot to cover. So let's. I want to get to more I want to get the Kemeticism, but having the priesthood is a good basis, absolutely.
The Sem priests were recognizable by their leopard skin robe and distinctive sidelock hairstyle. They are mentioned from the early dynastic period onward and are attested in both funerary and temple contexts. Some Sem priests were attached to specific... Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Dad. Some Sem priests were attached to specific Neteru, as their references to Sem priests of Ampu and Kinu, and this title could be combined with other priestly titles. They resided over the opening of the mouth ceremony at funerals, and it was a rather prestigious role. Then we have the Hemnetia, or the God's servant. This is basically like the high priest, like the big macho guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They cared for the materials used for daily offerings. This function also gave them economic power, as the temples consumed massive amounts of food and other goods. They were also divided into ranks of 4th through the 1st priest. And even though there are many 4th and 3rd ranks, there are only one of each for the 2nd and 1st rank. This title is known from the Old Kingdom, and the lower ranks were responsible for the duties within the sanctuary of the temple, while the 1st priest was selected by the pharaoh himself. There's also Eacris from the Dynasty 26 that was a female 1st priest of Amun.
I do remember.
Which is really cool.
I do. I remember Nitocris. I remember learning a little bit about her and stuff.
It's really cool.
We got in the Tomb of Tutankhamun with the leopard skin, which obviously are all yeah. I think it looks better now because I think these are the pre-Getty Conservation Center conservation, because all the little dots are a fungus and that we don't know what it is, and it was slowly eating all the paintings away in the tomb, and so I've heard that it is much prettier now because it is all restored and such.
Delicious.
Yeah, so gross. All right, priestesses.
Yay, priestesses! Yay!
Let's go.
They also were divided within ranks similar to the men's, and were genuinely holding higher positions during the Old Kingdom. It was during the New Kingdom in the Third Intermediate Period where we see their roles being downgraded, where they were mostly seen as singers in divine choirs that accompanied priests in processions around and through the temple, with the higher ranks following the priests into the area near the sanctuary. This is also where you'll see the god's wife, the Kemetism, where they were first seen during the Middle Kingdom, and the title wasn't really necessarily only for the royal family and wasn't associated with any particular deity, although we do see instances for like god's wife of Min or Moon. Usually, oh wait, I skipped a line, sorry. We see this title being used with the great royal wife, usually during the New Kingdom, and it is changed to specifically God's wife of the moon when Amos I won Egypt back from the Hyksos, granting the title to his mom. You see it with Hatshepsut or Nefertari. They carried the title amongst many others, and it became increasingly more political as time went on as well. It was an amazing title to hold as it granted quite the power and was usually passed down from mother to daughter. The priests did maintain their position during the Ptolemaic dynasty and even through the Roman occupation. However, by the rise of Christianity during the 4th century CE, they had lost most of their power and prestige.
Love that. And I'm very curious on your thought of the god's wife, especially when it is like the queen or the queen mother or something. How much actual priestess job she might have been actually doing.
I don't know. A lot of people believe it was strictly a political role.
And that's why I really liked where you said politics, because I'm just like, I hate to say it, that just seems like a title that's just going to get slapped on at the end. That like, it, honestly, and not to compare to like the real royal family, but like they get those patrons and they're the patron of a specific organization, and it really only involves them like going out and visiting them and doing like, so like, hey, the god's wife of Amun is going to go visit the temple of Amun once a year, or maybe once by herself, but like doesn't it's that kind of back and forth where it's like, are you really like a priestess, or are you just a title? You're just the captain of all of them and you don't really do anything.
During the Middle Kingdom, it is believed that it wasn't as political as it was during like the late period. The late period is when it gets really political.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But and I've read where there is I forget where it's at, but there's a list of what the god's wife would do, like their duties as god's wife. Some of them may believe that it could have been sexual in nature, but there's also things that could contradict that, because then those kind of like sexual things weren't really allowed in the temples.
No, absolutely.
It depends.
And the other thing is that this is such a I'm really liking that you're putting in like the certain time periods, because a lot of people just assume that these are the same for a full 5,000 years, and I'm like, you're not right. That's not how that works. Like nothing is the same for 5,000 years. And so so it's the assumption that, hey, maybe at one point yes it was, but that does not necessarily mean that it's at every single point and stuff. But yeah. All right.
I like having those time periods too. So.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right, now Yay!
Yay! Thank you so much for doing the priestesses and priests, because that was definitely very, very helpful and gives us a little bit of basis when we ask like the more comparison questions and such.
Right.
But this is what I'm very excited for.
I thought it would help.
Absolutely.
And plus, I like talking about it. So.
Yeah.
This is our very brief history of Kemetism and how it got really
So
started.
Mammy has asked that I dressed up like a priestess, so continue on as I put on this necklace and my headdress and all this.
I need to get me one too.
These are all like Party City and Halloween stores, because surprisingly, at not Halloween, they usually still have Egyptian stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah, there's always a little section at
There's
this.
really pretty ones on Etsy. I'll have to send them to you.
Oh, yeah.
You'll hate me for doing it, but I'll have to send them to you.
No, these are really cheap ones. I would love to have like an actual like semi nice one.
Yes.
Where's my?
One day I'll have one.
One day. My onk.
I love it.
I think I made this out of like modeling clay once, and I was just like, I had extra, and I was like, hey, it's gold. I'll just make an onk and make it into a necklace. All right.
Also, if you want to get an ankh when you're in Egypt, I got a good place for you.
Ooh, yes. Tell me everything.
That's where I got mine.
I know. This is my problem, is that I'm kind of like allergic to all like silver jewelry or like bad like quality jewelry and stuff, and so like I have a pair of gold ankh earrings and a pair of silver ankh earrings, but I can't really wear the silver ones, unfortunately. And most of the time I don't wear silver because I know that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I have a pair of scarab gold earrings, which I like, but like I need more. Like I need more jewelry.
They have gold ones. They have Egyptian silver, and then like they have also the gold ones. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is I've always wanted an Eye of Horus necklace, because I had a really cheap one that I got from like the kids section of like the Louvre's gift shop, like when I was younger, and it was my good luck charm. I wore it like every single day, like under my clothes and stuff, and I used to wear it as a good luck charm like when I was playing sports in college, and then one day I lost it. It just like, I don't know, like went in the I think it came off like probably like when I was changing, and then went in the laundry and lost it. And I've been trying to get a new one, and when I was in London, I bought one at the British Museum, and it was like gold, and I was like, this is gonna be perfect. And then it's not gold, and it turns green. It like starts to tarnish like crazy, and so I haven't found like one that is not gonna tarnish or not gonna turn my skin green. And yeah, so.
I'm so
But yes,
sorry, honey.
I need more Egyptian jewelry that's not just like this fake shit.
Yeah. But I'll keep an eye out and I'll send them to you. Because I always look.
Yeah, I do need an Eye of Horus. I need a tattoo right now. But my first tattoo is gonna be Medjed, because we love that little boy.
I love Medjed.
He's gonna go on my ankle, and he's gonna walk with me. I just haven't decided if I want the legit Medjed, or if I want the cute little chibi Medjed that I have a pin of. That's very cute, and I'm like, it's very tempting. But it would feel weird for me not to get like one of the actual images of Medjed. So
yeah,
gotta figure that out. And whenever I have actual money to get a tattoo.
that's fair. I'm scared of getting a tattoo. I want to like get like a whole ass sleeve of my.
That's
my
what that one's Mark's doing. So I'm gonna write his name in hieroglyphs and get it. And he's gonna get it in a tattoo, and so it's a whole big thing that and somebody actually, I've already made 2 people hieroglyph tattoos, and somebody else was just messaging me on TikTok about it, and I was like, yeah, like just go to my Ko-fi and get whatever you want. Just trust that I am not an expert of translating random sentences, but I will try my best as best as I can. Some guy, the sentence he got was the sentence from the 10 Commandments, which is the so it should be done, or something like that. So he asked me for that.
I saw your TikTok on that.
Yeah. So he asked me for that one. I was like, oh god, I gotta make sure this one is right. I was like, this is like a really long sentence. And like, I can do names confidently. I cannot really. I'm not as strong of sentences, but I try.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hit my mic. I do that every single time I stream. I'm just like bonk.
I do want that, Rahab. If tattoos are not as painful, I would love to get like a under boob.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very cool.
I really like Rihanna's.
Yeah, Rihanna. I was gonna say there's a celebrity who has one that goes under like with the wings, and I'm like, yeah, like that tattoo seems really awesome.
I would do that with Nepet. I would love to do that with Nepet.
I kind of want to get Newt somewhere because Newt is my favorite, and it'd be really cool. But I think I would want to get her like in the sky shape, and so I'm like, oh, like if I was really into tattoos, which I don't know if how into, like I don't know if I would do a full sleeve or something. It would be very cool to get her like along like the back of your shoulders. Like that would be a very nice placement of it. It probably wouldn't do that, but like it would just look very satisfying in that spot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
I'm just so terrified of getting them because I'm just like, I don't know if I'll like them. I don't know if I'll like, especially if they're really heavy-handed and it like.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth because I know that I want them, but I've kind of decided I probably don't want color ones because.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also feel like I'm gonna get too specific, and I really want them stylized. Like I don't know if I really want like a like really realistic one and then like a chibi like cartoon character. Like I don't know if that works, but yeah, see color fades and I know that and stuff, and so it's like and so it's like I feel like I would literally be curating it, and I'm afraid I'm get too specific and like indecisive and stuff, even though I've also thought of like, oh, it'd be really cool to get a tattoo at every country I go to, which like yes, but that would just risk that like anything would be crazy, and like it and I need a better website for tattoo parlors instead of Yelp, because I don't trust that really. I'm like I want a reviewing place for tattoo places, and like and stuff. So
oh, that's fair.
Yes,
that's
Mark, fair. I will take that when I have money, which will be never, but hopefully.
That's a mood.
Literally, I thought I was actually gonna have some spare money this month, and I'm like, oh, nope.
Such a mood. Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
All right, it's okay. I love my new job. It's just not as much more than my old job than I thought it was going to be. So.
No. Everything will work out.
Because I have a pension now, so they take out so much money. So much money. I don't need a pension. I need the money now. Not even joking. I got a letter from my old job's 401k, and it told me I had like $6,000, and I was like, I want that now. And my dad's like, don't do that. I'm like, I'm like I know I won't get all of it if I take it out, but I'm like, I kind of need that now. I don't care about retirement at this point in my life because I can't pay my rent. And my parents like don't understand that. I'm like, get rid of the $6,000. Yes.
That's fair. No, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
All right.
Okay.
Kemeticism. Millennial.
A very brief history.
Yes.
This is kind of all I got.
That's fine. Oh. Any history is better than no history, because I don't know the actual history behind this. So that's what I really want to know.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, here you go. Kemeticism, or even Kemetism, started to emerge back in the 1970s, not 1700s, 1970s through the late 1980s. This is where we see the emergence of the Kemetic Orthodoxy and other religious places claiming that to, like the Temple Set. The Temple Set isn't really a Kemetic place. They just kind of snag Set in.
Okay.
There are spaces that will call it Neterism as well, but I don't see that as often. So it's usually just Kemeticism.
And for everyone who doesn't know, Neteru is gods, plural, in ancient Egyptian.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. It took me a while to remember what that was. I was like, I know that word. What is that word? It's ntr.w, Neteru, plural, gods. But yeah.
Temple Set is a branch of Satanism where they believe Set is Satan, and it's a whole bunch of misinformation, and it has a whole bunch of crazy shit.
But so is that technically Kemeticism, or is that kind of a separate, like a part of Satanism, or another kind of?
It was founded by a guy who was a Satanist.
Okay.
And he didn't like the way the Church of Satan was doing something, and he's like, I'm gonna go do my own sect of Satanism, and then I guess he believed that Set came to him and was like, ha ha ha, I'm the real Satan, and so now the Temple of Set's a thing.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So more on the Satanist side, but obviously there's some sort of Kemeticism mixed in with it because obviously he's picked up
some sort of like at least
something.
Set stuff. I guess.
Set stuff.
That's not even like. I can go on about that. As a priestess for Set, like I have been studying Set. That's like my main Nichiru. I study him. I have like a huge ass binder.
Yeah.
With like a 600-page thesis on him that I've been reading through. So like,
yeah.
The Temple Set gets everything wrong, but
yeah,
it's really funny. You can't do anything but laugh about it. So.
Yeah. Hello, Saturn Knight. This is relative to this. Relative to this, Mark says, was Kemeticism a common thing during the Egyptomania period, 19th to early 20th centuries? From my research, no. But if you have any idea, I've never really seen, like, I did a lot of research in Egyptomania, and for the most part, the kind of weird thing about it is that, like, they exoticize Egypt so much, and like in the very early parts of Egyptomania when they couldn't read hieroglyphs, they were taking the imagery from Egyptian and using their own knowledge of like Christian values and things like that, and trying to figure out, like, we talked about this a little bit on my lecture last month about the weird catacomb of metempsychosis, where essentially before they could read hieroglyphs, they looked at this one image and they thought that it was reincarnation, and so they were like, the Egyptians believed in reincarnation, but it was more on the sense that like they were thinking about their own version of purgatory and translating then what this image was into their own mindsets and stuff. But I don't think like, I think what Amber has said here, that it didn't, the actual, at least with the kind of sense, we're talking about the actual practice of the modern version of the ancient religion. I don't think, I don't doubt that there are some probably weirdos that were earlier that also like did it, but also were not doing it, like we're more like, I mean, fetishizing maybe, like in the sense, like not actually like believing that it's a real religion, but like worshiping the gods and like not really practicing it in that kind of way. But no, I think what it is now is much more recent.
I was wondering that too, because I was like, how can I research that? Because I wanted to know. Because I love like the Art Deco. I love the 1920s and like the
Egyptomania is.
And the Egyptian revival jewelry is really cool. Like, I like looking at it and shit.
No, believe me, Egyptian revival jewelry is just like gorgeous. Yeah, I did not encounter it when I did any Egyptomania research, but I wasn't really thinking about that side. I was more going on when you look at Egyptomania, a lot of people define Egyptomania differently. There's this insane Egyptomania book. It's like this thick, where it has all these different definitions of Egyptomania. Some people see it only as like an architecture type, or some people only see it as the mania that surrounds learning about ancient Egypt, but some people are very focused on that it is the taking of ancient Egyptian motifs and making new things about it, like that, like on a more art history side versus like a fetishism or a dedication or something like that. So Egyptomania is very well rounded, and it has a lot of different focuses and stuff. Yeah, besides, I would say the Romans worshipping Isis, which is still closer to obviously the time that the Egyptians were still around. There's still some Isis worship that happens after the last time of Egyptian worship, but she's the only one that kind of gets pulled out of that. But then after that time, I don't think anything else. That was prevalent as early as the Roman,
book about her.
and also influenced. of Hermetic alchemy. That sounds interesting. There is obviously it would be interesting to see if some of the cult of Isis stuff that was in the Roman Empire continued after it, but I'm not sure.
I'm not, yeah.
It's kind of possible, but also like obviously the Dark Ages are not like people have described the Dark Ages now, but like that was a whole kind of thing where like obviously a lot of knowledge and stuff gets lost, as people say, and so I kind of doubt that something like that would have continued. But there's a whole series of TikToks I did about Isis temples because there are a couple really interesting ones. But yeah,
They are.
that's very interesting though. Hermetic alchemy. I'll have to look into that. What Hermetic alchemy is.
I'm not Hermetic, so I would not know.
Yeah, what does that mean, Hermetic? Do you know what that means?
It's a Greco-Roman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that, because I've heard paganism used as sometimes to describe the worship of Greco-Roman gods after that, even though there's obviously a different context of paganism in like medieval Europe is not them worshiping Greek and Roman. Like, I feel like paganism is kind of used in multiple different avenues. Oh, yeah, Mark says a catch-all phrase. Hermes, that's really cool. Kinda like
Yes.
that.
I think they do something with Jehudi there too. I can't really remember.
Interesting. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Hermes, I hate how people try to connect gods from different things, and I'm just like,
Me too.
like everyone's like, I think there's one that's really wrong. I think it's mostly that Anubis is the god of the dead, because he's not the god of the dead,
Yeah.
and he's not the god of death. Osiris is the god of the dead. There isn't really a god of death. Anubis is Hermes. Is like in my mind that's the closest kind of, but then also he also looks over like the mummification. He's the god of mummification, and he has kind of that Hermes role of carrying between worlds and stuff. But
Yeah.
I really hate when they try to connect it because they're not they're not the same. What's Thoth in Central? Hermes. Oh, Hermes Trismegistus is Hermes and Thoth together. Interesting.
Yeah.
And anything that isn't an Abrahamic faith. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I'm thinking, Mark, is Wicca. Wicca, that people is different, and
Wicca,
people.
Yeah. Wicca's a religion. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like a nature-based religion.
Yeah. And I think people use that, but I think paganism is used, and some people, that's kind of one of the things that I think of when I think of the word paganism, is sometimes I think of Wicca, but I always forget. All right, next slide. What is Kemeticism?
What is Kemeticism? Yay! Kemeticism derives its name from Kemet, meaning black land, due to the fertile soil around the Nile. Kemet's the name that the ancient Egyptians gave Egypt. They also gave it Tameri, which means beloved land, but Kemeticism is the modern term used for those who practice the ancient Egyptian religion. There are some of us who practice it as close as possible to the ancient Egyptians, and we call them reconstructionalists. And then there are others who bring the way that the ancients did it, and alongside their modern way of doing things. Those are revivalists, and that's kind of where I lay on the line. I kind of combine all of my scholarly research alongside my modern day experiences to walk my path.
Is that you in front of the pyramids?
Yes, that is me in front of the pyramids.
Very cool. I love that.
Most of the pictures are the ones that I took while
I'm so jealous. That's so cool.
I can't wait for you to go.
I know. It's like I know. I need to do the actual plan so that I can like actually say that I'm going instead of just saying, because technically last February we were going to try to go and that fell through, unfortunately.
Whenever you have time, shoot me a message on Discord and I can talk to you about stuff.
Absolutely, I will.
So.
All
A
right.
good example of this would be me offering Set the Kemetic basics, you know, the water, bread, beer, wine, along like a cinnamon roll. Set loves a cinnamon roll. This
Why do
man
I
loves a
think that
cinnamon
is
roll.
totally true that Set loves a cinnamon roll? I'm like, I accept that. I accept that completely. It's so goddamn funny. Oh my god.
I also do all my TikToks and all my lectures and things. I do it in honor of him. Sorry, Jehudi. But he's my patron, so I mean, sorry, Jehudi. I love Jehudi, but
He's one of my favorites
there
too.
is a right.
Yeah, Jehudi's probably like, he's probably my second favorite male god, even though Medjed, I don't know if Medjed is a male or a female, but Medjed's number one on the male side, Newt's number one on the female side, and Thoth is definitely
That's fair.
second. He's a cool guy.
Yes, I think he's so cool. He's so cool.
Yeah.
There is a Wiccan offshoot called Tamarin, which derives its name from Tamiri. They stick the Nachiru within their Wiccan beliefs, but I'm not Wiccan, so that's kind of all you. That's the only information you can get.
That's
from
very
me
cool.
from
I
that.
didn't know that. That's very cool.
Yeah. Some Kemetics will refer to themselves as pagan, but others will call themselves polytheist. I myself vibe more with polytheist than pagan, and there are also Kemetic witches. We're all mostly a polytheistic bunch, but everyone's practice is unique to them.
I like that. I like that.
So, what do we do? You know, everyone's just like, well, what the hell do you do?
This is a
We
very
worship. Yeah. Quite simply, we just worship and or work with the ancient Egyptian deities. It's,
I'm okay. I might have just had a full mouthful of water, both tipped over my cup and then tipped over the tripod with my phone on it. And then try not to choke. But I'm okay. Nothing spilled.
I'm glad you're okay.
We're good. We're good. I was trying to make that as subtle as possible, but my mouth was full of water and I had not swallowed yet, so. I keep
My
drinking
water
a
would
lot.
have been everywhere.
It would have been. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Some of us do rituals, some of us don't. It all depends on their individual's personal practice. Most of us do have spaces set aside for shrines and altars where we'll set offerings down for the Nachiru in our lives, unless if you have cats like me. I do have cats, so I don't actually put them up on my altar. I just share whatever's on my plate. I have a certain cat, not naming any names, but I am staring at her fluffy ass over here. She will jump up there and eat the offerings. I know that she will.
Yeah.
So.
Do you mainly, did you do the main four that you said? The water, bread, beer, and wine? Are those the main ones?
Those are the Kemetic basics. So if you wanted to start, I would start with those. But, I mean, I don't have all that stuff on my plate all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just basically if, like, today I went up to get Greek fries, which are crack. They're so fucking good.
Oh my god. That sounds amazing.
They're so good. And, I mean, it's on my plate. Whatever's on my plate is also set. Set can just reach over and grab some. Like,
Gotcha.
there's sometimes that, especially if it's a dessert, I'll kind of hover. I'll have to remember to, like, back away.
So, this is very interesting because, I wasn't sure if you were going to bring it up when you did the priesthood, but now I feel like I have to bring it up, which is really cool, and I feel like you can maybe apply this if you would like. So the way that I was always taught about how, like, offerings would go, essentially, is that, like, often it was family members or friends, but that there was when we're talking about, like individual tombs, rather than, like, obviously huge temples and stuff, that they would bring offerings and then they would leave them. If they could afford them, they would leave them at the temple. And then they would sit there for like a day or so, and then the priest and priests that were hired would go and take them, and that would be their payment for taking care of the tomb. And so I feel like you could just, like, leave it and then just, like, take it back, because, like, it's that they're absorbing it rather than, like, leaving the stuff individually. But I always thought that was kind of funny because a lot of people have to get reminded when I talk about ancient Egypt that there is no money system and that it's all a barter system, and your payment is your food, as your payment is your grain, which you make your beer and your bread, and then if you're higher up, you get some vegetables, some other, maybe some meats. It just kind of like as you go up and stuff. But I love the thought that it's just like, yeah, there is some priests that they're just waiting and they're just hoping that the family member of the tomb that they're taking care of is like giving them good food for them to eat.
Give us the good shit.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's some priests that are like, I'm not gonna sweep the stoop. They just gave me some bread. I would like some vegetables. They're farmers. They can give me a cucumber or something. Like, come on. Like like you know there had to be one. There had to be one where he was just like a little salty that he's not getting the good food. Also, Mark said that we're literally the same person, and I've been thinking about that the entire time that we've been talking, so.
Wait, what?
That we're literally the same person.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I will also take that as a compliment. But I was thinking about it when we were laughing and we both covered our mouths with our face, and I was like, oh god, and we're both wearing glasses, and I was like, oh my god, I think we are the same person.
It's okay. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Sorry. Backstage, Faye asked, could you talk a little bit about whether Kemeticism is closed and why? I do not know that. I don't, but yes.
It isn't open. It is open. It was also open very openly in antiquity. Mm-hmm. Like the ancient Egyptians love their religion. They love their culture. They're going to want to, even when invaders came and things like that, like they wanted them to practice their religion. Mm-hmm. And to help them with that, they would even bring in their own gods. So we see that with Baal during the Hyksos. Yep. We see that with Anat and Astarte. And I think Ash. Was brought in. I think Ash is one of them. Yeah. From Libya.
There's also some smaller ones that I just recently read about. Pihor and Padeshi, which are Nubian brother demigods. They're on the Temple of Dender in the Met. They're the main god besides Isis. Those three gods are the ones that focused on that temple. I didn't even know that until I did that video like 2 weeks ago or so. But yeah, they're these weird like Nubian demigods that then became like Hercules in a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is an open religion. It is an open practice that you can do if you feel called to do it. Mm-hmm. Or if they come knocking on your door and you're just like, okay. And that's why.
Yeah, I love that. Rahab asked, did they ever burn offerings? I think they did. I don't think that was as common because technically the offerings again were the payment for the priests who were working at the temple. So it's not the best if you burn their food. But I weirdly have a vague memory that I think we have some, like maybe a specific ritual or something that involved burning. But I think that was mainly more a, I think Greco-Roman practice, in that the belief that it would go up to wherever they are, and that's not, the Egyptian is not, the gods are not in the sky, the gods are in the west. So wasn't necessary for the burning aspect of it.
I think Astarte is actually Baal's consort wife.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
If I remember right.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember if I learned something about Baal, and I can't remember. There's something I vaguely remembered about that. Mark also asked, we know that modern paganism can both be coven-based and solitary. Is it similar with Kemeticism?
Yes. You see it mostly whenever it's like I think Melissa asked this question about it being like an organized religion.
Yeah, that was one. Yeah.
Not. You kind of see it within the Kemetic Orthodoxy. You see that kind of being like your coven base. We don't really call it covens, but
group.
Your community base, your group. And then you have people like me who's solitary. So
Gotcha.
it depends on what works for you, what you like, what calls to you, what is more comfortable for you. The way that I usually teach is that this path needs to bring you joy. So if you feel that a community will bring you joy, do it. But if you feel that you feel more comfortable with yourself, do it.
I like that.
So yeah, it depends.
No, I like that. That's really good.
Speaking of offerings,
yes,
we were just talking.
Yes, offerings, absolutely.
We eat them. We eat and drink them. So, or find a way to reuse them. My best friend likes to use the water that she uses as her offerings in her diffuser as like a nude offering. The Neteru in ancient Egypt, they didn't like waste. Yeah. So we eat them, and we do continue this tradition with our own offerings, which is why it's easier for me to be like, hey, whatever's on my plate is yours.
Yeah, that very much so. Makes sense.
And because even in antiquity, the priesthood would distribute the offerings between the temples once finished with them, stuff like that. There is a difference between working with and worshiping a deity, and in my experience, it is much, much easier to just worship a deity versus working with them.
Makes sense.
Worshiping is just like you worship them. You give them offerings, you give them prayers. For an example, you don't have to kneel, but it's just an example. Like I would kneel in front of Set's altar, give him thanks, say a prayer that I wrote for him, that kind of stuff. Working with the deity can be more intense. It can having their help within your craft if you practice witchcraft or other work. As an example, I would give Set a cinnamon roll in exchange for keeping the chaos down at work, or I'd give an offering for his help in this particular spell work. Working can also go deeper if you want it to. A lot of people talk about shadow work and growing as a person. I do not recommend doing shadow work without a therapist. I know a lot of people, you'll see it on TikTok, a lot of people don't say that, but it is very imperative.
What is shadow work? Can you explain that?
Shadow work is a psychology thing that came about with Carl Jung.
Okay.
And it's essentially getting in touch with your shadow self. And your shadow self is everything that you repressed, like your anger, your inner child, everything, the stuff that society has made you repress.
Yeah.
And
I can understand why. Yeah, definitely gotta do that with a therapist. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it's not needed. A lot of people will be like, you have to do it in order to do this. No, it's not needed. If you don't feel like you can do it, don't do it unless if you feel ready to do it, and do it with a therapist. Therapist will help you out way more. You could definitely double up on your therapist and having a deity help you through it, but I don't recommend just asking a deity to do it.
Yeah.
They're not there for that.
Yeah.
That's not their job. That
makes sense.
That's controversial probably, but it is what it is. Personally, I do both with Set. I work with him, I worship him. I mostly worship Nebuchadnezzar, Anpu, Bast, and Sekhmet. And I sometimes work with Nebuchadnezzar and Anpu, but it's very few and far between. I would like to do it a little bit more. I love them. But Ma'a is also a huge part of our practice. Ma'a is the concept, not the goddess. Unless if you worship Ma'a, the goddess, then she would be a huge part of your practice. Ma'at translates to order, balance, truth, justice. While there isn't anything in antiquity that explains how Ma'at was followed in ancient Egypt, or at least haven't been found, it is difficult to comprehend Ma'at, and some put their modern lens over it, which can't be helped. That's just, it is what it is. As things grow and as things come about. There is still a baseline that we all follow, being kind, growing as a person, being a better person, not doing evil, shitty things, just being kind, being a good person. However, I kind of feel like there's more to it than just that. So the way that I teach Ma'at is that it's unique to the individual. So my Ma'at, my truth, will be different than your Ma'at and your truth. I should not be living and following someone else's truth. I should be following mine.
That makes
I
sense.
see. I do. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it vibed with me, and I'm like, okay.
Well,
This
that
is
makes
how
sense
I'm
because,
gonna teach
like,
it.
I unfortunately am not a very confident in certain ways. Like, I avoid confrontation, like, as severely as possible and such. And so it's like, I can understand that, like, my truth, it's like, for a random example, like I go on a date with a guy and it's not bad, it's not good, I'm just not vibing with it. I have such a big struggle to literally just say, I don't want to date you, because the other thing is, I don't want to just do I want to be friend. Like, I think we're better as friends, because I also don't want to do that too. And so the unfortunate thing is that sometimes mutual ghosting is better, because I don't have to worry about it. My anxiety's not there. And so, like, and most of the time it happens mutually, because I also don't have time to date. But, like, most of the time it's happened that. But I can understand that, like, my truth of it is I'm not going to try to be not me. Like, if something's going to make me uncomfortable, I'm going to do my truth. So, like, that makes a lot of sense to me. Oh,
Mizu.
that's a very good question, Mizu.
Mizu's my brother, by the way.
Gotcha. Hello, welcome.
I think my mom and my dad are in here too.
Oh.
Hi,
hello, everyone.
I do see a lot of Kemetics explain Ma'at in a very black and white kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really vibe with that. I see Ma'at as a very gray in nature. Ma'at isn't like the whole light, just like, you know, how Iset's kind of like the whole black. I don't feel Ma'at's the whole white. I feel like it's the balance. Because that's what Ma'at is. It's the balance.
That's the thing is, whenever we were taught, like, about Ma'at and stuff, on that sense, for a long time it was defined as justice and truth, and really order is the closest definition we have to it. But one of the things that this is also in my Patreon course, because it's kind of I do this whole thing about the basics of ancient Egyptian society, that, like, you're going to need to know this to understand the art, to understand the culture. And, like, the two big things is understanding the chaos versus order versus chaos, and understanding that both of those have to survive. You cannot have one without the other, because there's also this dualistic thing with everything. The best example that I use is, like, the hippopotamus. Like, the ancient Egyptians understood that this is, like, an extremely dangerous animal, but they also were like, well, it's actually really good at protecting its young, which means it's a really great, like, motherhood figure, which, like, doesn't make any sense to me, but, like, that's how it works. And so that's when, like, you put that little hippo statue in a tomb. You're putting it there so that the thing will protect you and your motherhood and the children and stuff. But they're also like, okay, wait, that statue might come to life in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So we got to keep ourselves safe. So I'm going to break the legs off the bottom of the hippo statue, which is just, like, it's the most insane and detailed things in that. But it shows that really understanding that, like, you gotta have both. You really can't have one without the other, but you have to understand that, like, everything has both sides to it, and it's just, and so that's why Ma'at's so difficult to define, because
it is.
And a lot of people also have described it as peace, like peace and chaos, and that's even worse. Like order doesn't necessarily mean peace, and you see that with, like, lots of, like, post-apocalyptic movies and stuff like that. Like, order does not mean peace or happiness or anything like that. So it's kind of that you got to have the back and forth and such.
Yeah, absolutely. Ash, that's really cute.
Yeah.
The Egyptian version of Mama Bear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tawaret.
Yeah.
I love Tawaret.
Yeah. Tawaret's a weird one, but she's fun. It's kind of the funny thing is, the other thing that I also hate about that people make assumptions about Egyptian gods is that there's only one god for every, like, random characteristic, and I'm like, you understand that there's, like, at least 10 for just motherhood, childbirth, children, like, the household gods essentially. But it's just like people are like, I think somebody literally, like, when I did my Gods and Goddess series, people are like, I thought she was the goddess of love. And I'm like, no. Like, no. One, there's no goddess of love or anything. But, like, there's no, like, it's not set in stone, especially because it's 5,000 years. In certain time periods, maybe it was more set in stone, but yeah.
And the ancient Egyptians loved their duality. Like, they loved it.
I mean, it's literally everywhere, and it's something. The other good example is the Nile. They understood that the Nile and the flooding is really detrimental to their personal property and their lives. But guess what? You can't live without it, so you got to deal with it. And so I think the Nile is probably one of the reasons why dualistic thought became such a big thing, is because they understood, like, eventually, like, there might have been a group of people that are like, we hate the flood so much, we have to move away. Where are you gonna go? You can't, unless you're fully going out, or if you're fully going up into the delta, you don't got anywhere else to go.
Right.
Yeah. I love that, Rahab. Yeah. Hathor, goddess of love, exterminate everything. Yeah, she can be really scary sometimes. So, like, that's just...
She can.
Nothing is set in, like, very, very little when it comes to Egyptian gods and goddesses. Unless it's, like, those really lesser-known ones. Like Medjed.
Right.
He has fire that comes out of his eyes, and he protects Horus in the afterlife. That's all he does.
Yeah.
But it's because we only have, like, 4 texts with his name on it. So it's like... I guess this is what, like, maybe we'll find more and it will tell us more about it, but, like, that's it. That's all we got, so.
I love how Japan, like, got that papyri. And they
It's my favorite thing.
I'm so obsessed with them.
It's my favorite thing because I was in grad school, and my youngest brother, who really likes Japan and anime and a lot of things like that, he was like, have you ever heard of Medjed? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm learning ancient Egyptian language, and I was like, that sounds like an Egyptian word or Egyptian name. And I'm like, no, I've never heard of him. Because did I learn about him in school? Absolutely not. I did. Like, no, like, we do not talk about those super minor gods. Like, we don't got time. There's too much other stuff to talk about. I learned it from my brother who likes anime and saw him in an anime. And, like, then there's, like, a game on your phone that you can play as him, and I'm like, what? And Medjed was my first Fun Fact Friday when I started posting 3 years ago, because he's just so cool, and just, he's virtually unknown, though we do actually have more images of him now. His Wikipedia has expanded because I think somebody must have wrote a thesis on him, because we have at least, like, 4 or 5 images of him now that we just, like, weren't probably published until, I think somebody probably saw the fad and how it was in Japan and just was like, I'm gonna write a thesis about it now. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I suddenly, when I was Wikipedia, I was like, what is that image? I've never seen that one before. And there's, like, 2 new. They look worse somehow. They look really bad. He has a belt. He has a little belt, but he's got really long legs and he's really short on the top, and then he has a belt around him halfway through. I'm like, what? He doesn't even look. He doesn't look as cool as he used to.
Funny.
Yeah. Yes, he is. All right, next slide.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Now we're gonna talk about Isfet, and here's another warning for my Kemetics out there. Educational purposes, and then I'll get into why.
Perfect.
I feel the same way about Isfet. That's the opposite of Ma'at. Isfet is the unnecessary and unrelented chaos that ceases all existence. That's Apet's goal. To cease all existence. This is different than the chaos that Set brings to the table, and what you see as Isfet may be different than what I see as Isfet. However, there's still that baseline of what Isfet is, which is the absence of balance. You also may have noticed how I wrote out Apet's name.
Gotcha.
In ancient Egypt, it was believed that the names held power, and we carry this belief with us in our modern day practice. You won't hear us say its name, so we'll call it the nope rope.
That's what the nope rope means? Wait, I've heard of the nope rope, and that's what the nope rope means?
Yes.
Wow.
This is what the nope rope is. My husband called it the terror noodle one time, and I was like, that's hilarious. And then my brother and I sometimes call it the asshole.
The asshole. Okay.
So it's just, we don't say his name, and we don't, and if we have to type it out like I did,
Yeah,
we
with the
either
lines and
slash it up like I did, or it's a whole ass like line. But
Interesting.
yeah, that's
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very true.
Alpha
Yeah,
is
names are really important.
Yeah.
The more you say
Yeah.
it, names
I mean,
are.
there's like myths about it, so we carry this within our modern day practice. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm okay with saying the name because I'm just like, you know what, fuck you, I don't care. Like, you know, like I don't care about him, and I'm okay with doing it for educational purposes. And there are some Kemetics that don't want to hear the name, don't want to see the name, and
Yeah.
I completely understand. So that's why I kind of like, I gave the disclaimer.
Also, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it is the antithesis of Ma'at, the very thing the ancient Egyptians fought against. So like.
Yeah. No. I mean that is absolutely. He's the closest thing to a devil.
Go ahead.
Like we don't
Almost.
like there, because there is no real hell essentially in ancient Egypt, but like he's the closest to like the biggest bad guy that we have. So absolutely.
Yeah. So it's, a lot of people get on our cases about can't worship it, blah blah blah, and it's just it's one of those things where we're like, well, that's kind of cultural appropriation because you're taking Apep out of his cultural context, and you're trying to worship something that shouldn't be worshipped and wasn't worshipped in antiquity. And
no, he was definitely not. Yeah.
So.
Because you're right, because like Set was worshipped, and in certain can't remember, it's like third intermediate period or something, one of the pharaohs was like all about Set, and I can't remember if what time period that was, but like it Set always gets the bad rap. He's always the villain in all the TV shows and stuff, and
I could probably do a whole ass lecture on that.
That would be great, actually.
I could probably do another whole ass lecture.
That would be a great
lecture.
I was gonna say, do you know crap, what's the fudge cakes? Like 2 months ago we had our guest lecture was Megan Carter, and she does a webcomic called Godslave. Yeah. Where Set's like the main villain but not a villain and stuff, and I love how she portrays him in it, because one, he's
a look at it.
One, he's a floofy little like not fox but fox thing, because he's trapped in that form the entire time, but it is like she kind of always kind of bridges that gap, that like, because the main character is helping Set try to get his body back and stuff, and so it's kind of bridging the gap where the main character's very suspicious of him all the time, like as she's learning and stuff, but he's not really the villain, but he kind of is the villain, and so like it's very, very interesting, and the comics are just beautiful as well.
Yeah, it was the Ramses, like Seti the first, and Ramses the second.
Yeah,
they came from the Delta region where his worship was pretty prominent still.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, in Avaris, which then became Pyramesses. Yeah, which is the capital. Yeah.
Like, if you guys want me to later on, I can totally go on a little more about Set, but
no, I mean, at this point, I'm probably gonna re-invite people on, and like kind of re-invite people on, and like if you have another topic you want to talk about, absolutely, and that would be a very interesting one.
Oh, I would love to. I love talking about it.
I think that'd be really cool.
I'm
yeah.
such a goober.
I think it'd be really cool if you both talked about like ancient Set, Kemetism Set, and then like popular culture Set. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
That'd be very cool.
I'm not a fan of popular culture Set.
But I think that would be very cool to look at them, and to look at how he's portrayed because like the other thing is like obviously you are a worshiper of Set, and so he's not this kind of bad guy, but it'd be good to see he wasn't a bad guy in ancient Egypt. He has been in popular culture. Why is he as a bad guy in popular culture? And then that'd be very cool. I love this.
I would love to do that. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
do it.
If you're down, I am down.
Absolutely. That sounds so interesting.
That's fantastic. All
right.
Another aspect
We'll come
If
back
you
to
want
the
me to keep
questions
going.
that people are coming in. We're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer anything?
Well, we'll just do this one because this is the one is about Opet, but I'm gonna wait the Lady Lina Rose one until later. I've heard Opet be referred by his name Rarek, as well as some claims that he originates as a sun god himself. Is that a name you've heard? And is there any truth to the claims? I have not heard that, but I'm not as familiar with Opep. So, Rarek sounds kind of familiar because obviously it's Ra mixed with something else. There is an 42-second ad, so I'm gonna drink some water.
Oh, good. I can drink some water too. If we're going through an app, I'll turn on the light.
Yeah, go for it. She's gonna try.
That way I don't look
like you're in the dark.
fuzzy.
Rarek. I'm gonna have to look that up, Rahab. So 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. No, you're muted. Tap the thing.
Is that better or is that worse? I kind of
the light?
Yeah.
It's either way. Either way is fine. No. Any opinions if Amber should keep the light on or off? I don't know. I do not have.
If you guys are staring at my face, so. I haven't heard the.
No, I might have to look that up. I'm wondering if that's a weird. I'm wondering if it's just another. Well, I mean, here's the thing. The whole thing is that like Horus is defeating Apep like every night, so like the whole concept that he could be, Lena, yes, thank you. I will remember that. The whole concept that he could have been a sun god actually does not seem that foreign to me. But also that might just be from my like knowledge of like typical fiction tropes, kind of like the whole like honestly, the fallen angel concept that you were an angel at heaven and then you fell and now you're something else. So like that doesn't seem like that far of a concept, but I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna look that up, Rahab, because that sounds a little interesting.
I'm wondering if it's also coming from like the left-handed path, because they kind of claim, or they even like the people who work with or worship dragons, like they claim him to be a dragon, and they're like it's okay for us to worship him and all this stuff. I'm like, it's not really, but
Interesting.
I'm wondering if that's where it comes from.
Alex is my researcher. Alex can't find anything, but I'm wondering if that might be just an old translation or something.
Yeah.
Because that also happens.
Yeah.
As per not a fight that I was on, but a stitch that I did on TikTok where the guy was heavily arguing with Budge's dictionary from 1802, and I was like, oh buddy.
No.
Oh buddy. It's like
I saw that too. I saw your stitch on it too, and I'm like, yes, girl.
I was like, buddy.
Buddy. We don't use Budge.
We don't use Budge. Don't use Budge. The only thing you can use in Budge is his drawings of hieroglyphs, and those are like reasonable. But yeah, you can't really use anything. And like,
no,
you can't use any of his translations. Definitely, any of his other stuff you probably can't also use. But sometimes it's good for at least a historiography way. But translations wise, it's not even worth to look at it in historiography, because it's just like unless somebody's doing a very deep dive into like a stupid paper where they're trying to like prove some glyphs means this particular thing, then it would be okay to do that. But like not the best.
Ash, I wouldn't use the Britannica as a source.
Yeah, Britannica.
I don't recommend that one.
Yeah, I would. The better one is, the better, more accessible one, we'll say, it's not necessarily the better one, is there's a history encyclopedia, I think it's called, or something along that lines and such.
is it the worldhistory.org, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, Rarik and Other Serpents.
Oh.
What book is this? Book of the Dead by Borghoutz. I am going to look into this. So yeah, maybe he's just another serpent, but
Maybe.
like a. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Apophis the same thing as Apep? Does anybody?
Apophis is the Greek name for Apep.
Okay, it's yeah. I was making sure because I was like, is there another Greek? Is there another god?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like it might be. Oh yeah. So in some versions, he is the that great one, which may still mean Rarik, and in others there is Apep. Nowhere else does the name Rarik occur in that text. The rest of the spell, the protagonist is Apophis in all versions. Interesting. I'm going to read into that a little bit more. But we're going to get back to the slideshow, which I have to redo something, but give me 1 second. Stop sharing.
You were fun.
The stupid thing where I have to put it in full screen and then share it, so that it looks like it's in full screen. There we go. Okay. Continue.
I await. There we go.
Yeah.
Yay! Alright, so some Kemetics will honor or work with Aku, which is their ancestors. I feel like it's something very individualistic because I don't personally do this. They do, if they do, they have a separate altar for them. They have like pictures and stuff up for them. I wouldn't mind putting up pictures and stuff, but it's not like I would want to work with my ancestors, to be honest. But this comes from because in antiquity it was seen to be important to take care of your past loved ones so that they were taken care of in Aru, or the Field of Reeds. So that's where the practice comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do that, some people don't. I don't particularly do that. Another important part of our practice is Heka, or magic. And this is different than witchcraft. But most Heka is spoken word, and as such you can see prayer. I see prayer basically as a form of Heka. And I usually use it as like small blessings, like Nefes Echmek, which means may you hear beautiful things. There's also knot work that can be used in Heka, execrations that we see during Wepron Pet against Ophep, where we will bake something snake-shaped, eat it, destroy it as a way to, get rid of Ophep. And there are other ways like drawing him on a clay pot, which I think there are sources in antiquity that they did this was put it on a clay pot, smash it, break it, and
Love that.
as sort of like a hex.
Very cool.
Yes, and I lost where I was at.
You're in the last paragraph.
Hieroglyphs. You can use hieroglyphs and Heka, which is why I've been trying to learn.
Thank you, Nader Fiend. We're gonna answer that question in just a second. That's very related.
The ancient Egyptians also believed that Ma'at was sustained by Heka, and that's another belief that we also bring into our modern day practice.
So Nader Fiend asks, how central was magic to the ancient Egyptian world, and what makes magic different than religion? That's what Heka is. And Heka is also a god. It's very similar to Ma'at, in which like Heka is magic, but there is also a god called Heka. He's usually depicted as a little boy, which essentially means that he's naked. If you've watched my videos, children in ancient Egypt are butt-ass naked and have one side lock, so like one little lock of their hair, and often put their finger to their mouth like this, and so Heka is usually depicted as that as well. But I am blanking a little bit about Heka, and how it's not the magic of a magician nowadays. I do remember what you said. It's more about vocalizing and voices, but I'm blanking a little bit more about what I've read about Heka and everything.
Most Heka was done by specific priests. from what I remember from my reading, and it. What was I gonna say? It is like it's sort of like interconnected with the religion, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not really like a separate thing. It was just kind of part of it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think you're right, though, that it Heka was not a thing that everyone did as part of the religion. It was only really something that the priesthood and the higher-ups kind of did.
I think you can employ a priest to do some Heka for you.
That makes sense.
And you can actually also pay them to make amulets and things for you.
Yeah. That also makes sense, yeah. Or at least maybe bless some, whether or not amulets are being made in a more artisan and then being sent over. But I don't doubt priests would also like cut out the middleman and make their own if they had the time and money to be able to make that. That just seems like a good capitalistic kind of thing. That like you make your own amulets and you bless them automatically. Like it's why rosaries are probably made by like nuns and things like that, kind of just cutting out the middleman and stuff. But yeah, I remember it's more about the spoken word. It's not, I think it's about like making, almost like wishing things to kind of in existence, kind of like things like that, and like putting out things to the universe is kind of the best way I can like describe it. It's not the magic that like little magicians do and stuff.
Yeah. Shines.
Yay!
I get to the fun part.
Yeah. These are very cool, and I'm looking in very detail. Because we all know this, so like I have a ton of Egyptomania items, and I've told this before that some of my favorite places to get Egyptomania items are spiritualist shops, because they have a lot of really good Egyptian statuary and usually relatively cheap and stuff, and so the one that's local to me doesn't have very many things, but it has a couple. But there's one I went to in New York City, which I completely and utterly stumbled upon, and oh my god, they had every god and every different size and statue, and I was like, this is really hard for me not to buy a ton of these things. Or then like this thing you find at Ross, and it's like really crappily made, but like it's a pretty relatively large Ma'at statue that I'm like, yeah, I will buy this for $10 because I can.
My Ampu and my boss right there, I got them in Egypt when I went.
Yeah.
So
they're very cute.
Egyptian alabaster, hand carved and everything, and
which I want. I have a thing about getting all of the stones that the ancient Egyptians used and had access to. Like I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I do like learning about like crystals, and I like tarot cards and things like that. So I do like going to crystal shops and finding. Yeah. But I particularly only really get ones that the ancient Egyptians have. So I have. This is probably one of the most expensive things that I bought is my lapis. Yes. Which hysterically, I go to the spiritual shop and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this lapis, and I say obelisk, even though technically it's an octagon, so it's technically not an obelisk. But she goes, what did you call it? And I was like, an obelisk? And I'm like, what do you call it? And she goes, a tower. And I was like, oh, okay. It was just like, I just did not expect her to call it a tower. I was just like, I was very curious as to what the shape is if it's not an obelisk. But yeah, this was, oh god, this is so expensive.
All kinds of crystals and stuff on my
I have a big chunk of carnelian.
Yes.
And then what's the other? Oh, I have it over here.
Mine has a face on it.
Oh, I love that. It took me way too long to pick this one. There were several carnelian pieces, and I was like, I don't know which one to pick. I have a little lapis bracelet, and then a tiny piece of carnelian. What I need is turquoise. I don't have any turquoise.
Oh, yeah. That's hard to get.
It's hard to get. And then I found this like thrifting, and I don't know if it's real, but like I think this might be like one of the stone, because it looks so similar to so many canopic jars that I've seen, and it's also hand drilled, and I'm like, I just trying to remember. This isn't alabaster. This is I can't remember what kind of stone this is. But I'm like, I think this is it, but I don't have any alabaster, and I would love like some actual Egyptian granite, and like
Yes.
I would. My professor actually had a collection when she would do the education stuff. She had a collection of each of these stones that she would let the kids touch, and the one thing that she didn't have was that she didn't have any like authentic alabaster, Egyptian alabaster.
It's so cool.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
So cool. It's so sparkly too.
I love the little bee that you have.
That is it's a cute little pendulum that my bestie sent me, and I'm like, you know this. Here you go, boss.
I was gonna say, I actually think I have something very close to that, because Melissa in Greek means bee, and so my mom will buy me.
Adorable.
Yeah. So in ancient Egyptian, my name would be Bit, is my name. As simple as it could, it is Bit. And hysterically, I made names in hieroglyphs for a couple of my coworkers for my old job, and one of my coworkers' name was Pamela, and Pamela means honey. And so her name was also Bit, just written with a jar determinative at the end. But I just thought that was very funny that like we have the same name, but when you look at it, it's written differently, just slightly. But because the word for honey is literally the word for bee, but with a jar and the three little dots at the end, meaning that it is a small item. So
I love that.
yeah, so I thought that was very funny. That I was like, oh yeah, this is actually my name too. But yeah, I have a little bee charm like that because my mom buys me bees.
That is adorable. I love that. Me too.
You have a sistrum though. I'm very jealous. I need to buy a sistrum.
I can send you where I got that one, but it's kind of pricey.
I don't doubt it is. That's a thing that I would love to have. I have a nicer Senate board now, but I would really love like a sistrum or yeah. A long,
really loud, so I can't
long term goal is to get a sistrum. Absolutely.
I want to get one that's travel size so I can take it to Egypt with me.
That would be cool.
But
a little tiny one.
yeah, I can't use that one. That one's really loud.
It's really
loud. My cats don't like it. So.
Is it just like a worse tambourine? Is it worse or better than a tambourine?
I don't know. It sounds similar.
Yeah.
But it's. I think it sounds really nice.
Yeah.
But it's still really.
It's just loud.
It's really loud.
Makes you think what all would happen when everyone is using them. Probably was wild.
It would probably sound a lot better in the temples because
That's
they're
true.
bigger.
With the echo. Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't sound as loud. But
very cool.
in a small little apartment space, and cats are like, "What are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah, I can understand that they wouldn't like that sound.
Yeah, they'll bite my poor babies.
Oh, Nader Fiend. I can go into so much detail about this. The short answer is they worshipped a cat goddess and other lioness goddesses, but they did not really worship cats, like an everyday cat. This is one thing that I would love to do a stinking whole lot of research, because there is obviously some point in more pop culture or in Egyptomania where the whole world got hypnotized to think that the ancient Egyptians worshipped cats. My theory is that it has to do with all of the different, like the literal millions of cat mummies that have been found, which yes are dedicated to the cat of to Bast or Bastet, but because they're murdering a lot of cats does not mean that they worship cats. But yeah, so it's not the same thing. Like it's not the same thing as like Hindus worshiping cows so that they don't eat any cows. Like that's not what the process is. And the whole big thing is that I did my thesis on ancient Egyptian dogs, the ancient Egyptians loved dogs. Like, didn't worship dogs, but loved dogs way more than they loved cats. And, like, that was the subtle undertone of my entire thesis, is that, like, they didn't really love cats. It's just this very interesting... obviously you get a lot of statue, and then the other thing is that people think that Anubis is a dog. Anubis is not a dog. He's not. And so people think that they worship both cats and dogs. I'm like, no, you are both wrong. But yeah, I can go on so long, this whole thing. And that's like the funny thing about this, Maddie, is that all of my like, I'm not even joking you, every single Egyptologist that I went to school with, they all had cats. Like, every single one. Probably more than one cat and stuff. I am mainly a dog person, but I am warming up to be a cat person. I didn't like cats because cats scared me when I was a child, and they still kind of do. But I'm warming up to cats. I've met some great cats because of my Egyptologist friends' cats. But it is always funny that people are like, other Egyptologists, like, why are you a dog person? And I was like, because they didn't love cats. And I'm like, because you guys are stereotyping ourselves in that, like, we have to love cats when it's not true. I can go into, this is another, like, huge lecture that I could do, like, in addition to, like, my dog thesis, which I do lecture about frequently. Like, I could do a whole thing about how, like, there's some one instance or something, like, somebody wrote an article or somebody put it in a TV show or something that has to trace back to it, because I don't understand, like, and I always knew that was a thing, but then when I sat and, like, really, like, learned about Egyptology, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so that's my rant about cats in Egypt.
I love cats.
I love cats. I do. I am very much warming up on cats. My friends' cats, and when I was in grad school, are amazing, and I love them. And now now my roommate has a cat, and I will probably get a cat earlier than I will get a dog, and that is more because my parents just got a puppy, and oh my god, I'm never getting a puppy in my life. I wanted to murder that dog constantly. I only want I want a large another dog. Naderfiend, don't test me. Puppies are very hard.
They are very difficult.
But yeah, I'm just very nervous I'm gonna get I'm not very nervous I'm not that I'm gonna get a bad cat, but I'm nervous I'm not gonna get a cuddly cat. And that's the thing that is, like, I need a cat. I need a support animal, and cats just obviously are not, most of the vast majority of the time, not the support animal that I need.
Cats are. If you come to Seattle, I got 2 cats for you, but you can come cuddle.
I really want a this is crazy. I really want a gray cat, like either a full gray or like a gray and white, and I want to name him Bert, for Burt Macklin FBI, for no reason. But I also really want I think it's a calico cat, because my dad had one growing up, that they named Pretzel. And Pretzel is the goddamn best cat name I've ever heard. And so I really want to have a calico cat named Pretzel, because I keep thinking about it, and it just is like the cutest name. I will need a black cat named Janet Snakehole. Absolutely, Maddie. That is now getting added to. Oh my god, that's such a great idea.
I'm sorry to my cats that I didn't name them cute names like Pretzel or Pickle or anything. I'm just like, I'm a weeb, so I named my first cat after my favorite character in an anime. And then I named my other cat to match hers. So I have Mio and Rio.
Oh, those are so cute though. I love those. It's okay. Rio. I've just had names for my animals. I already know my first 2 dogs. Well, I really want dachshunds. I'm obsessed with dachshunds, and since I was a young child, I've already planned that I will have 2 dachshunds, one named Jackson and one named Lucy, and it is absolutely no context for either of those names. It's just the names that I picked, and that's just their names. Jackson will be a black one with the red stomach, and Lucy will be an all red one. Like, it's gonna happen, I guess. Maybe.
Do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Don't let my dreams be dreams. But yes, I would love a black cat, or one of those black cats with all the brown little sparkles everywhere. One of my art teacher had a cat like that, and her name was Sparkles, and it was like the best name for the cat, because she was full black but had these just little patches of red just like sparkled throughout her. She was one of the first cats that I was actually being nice to. Except she would walk around all of our art pieces, and that was not fun. That's when Sparkles gets booted upstairs because she just walks right over my painting.
Oh, we got cute little paw prints on it.
Yeah, it was very cute, but my art teacher would be like, ah, and like just like, come on. We were in elementary school. We get sad if our painting got ruined.
I love it.
All right. Anything else about shrines?
I mean, I can read it if you want me to.
Either way, absolutely.
But shrines and altar spaces are places for devotion and ritual and are just as individualistic as the practitioner. Some try to emulate the innermost part of the temple or the Jasiru, the Holy of the Holies, where the statue of the Nachiru would reside with a god box. Others will keep their spaces open. It all depends on what you have and what you're comfortable with.
Love it.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a very fancy one.
I know, I love this one so much. So what do you need for a shrine? You need a statue or a piece of artwork of the Nachiru the shrine is for. Offering cups if you can, unless if you have little Siamese who likes to jump up there and eat all your offerings. Yeah, Rio, I'm talking about you. You can add flowers and vases, candles, electric or not, simple things like crystals or other gifts you'd like to give the Nachiru you're worshipping. And as mentioned before, if you want to have like a god box, you can use one of those big Buddhist boxes that they have for their, that's what this is.
Yeah.
To emulate the Jasiru. Eventually I'll do that. If I find a statue of Set that I like. I can't find a statue of Set.
I was going to say, I actually have one of Set.
I'm jelly.
I know.
There's one that I found on Etsy that I really like, but because his face is so funny. It's just, he's like 22 inches and he's like $800, and I'm like, okay, well.
I paid too much for these 3 statues. They're just out of eyeline, so you can't see them, but there they are.
Look at them!
Yeah, so there are more in this. It's a set by Artisan Guild International. I think I think it's called like the Museum Shop or something. I remember I looked them up after I paid $70 for all 3 of these, which is this was like a yard sale. This was way more than I would have actually paid them for. But there's the set.
That's not bad. Oh, he's not bad.
No, he's not bad. No. And they all have yeah, he's got red. Yeah, he's not that bad. The bad thing, though, I was really pissed about is that I saw this lady on Facebook I found them on Facebook Marketplace, essentially. Yeah. And she was selling them, and she wanted, like, I'm not even joking, I think she, like, wanted $70 for each of them, and I was like, I am not paying that, because I think I tried to look them up, and the thing about it is these are, like, vintage museum shops, so, like, the ones that you would get now are a different size, or they're slightly different, and whatever, and I was able to, like, negotiate, and maybe I paid $100, something like that. But when I looked back at like her page, she had like a full golden Isis one that I just didn't get because I got there late because somebody bought that one individually, and I was like, fuck. I want that one. Like I would have paid the $100 for just that one. I didn't even necessarily want like all of these. I was like, I want that one. But yeah, so that one's my set one, which is and they're relatively hefty.
They sound pretty heavy.
Yeah. The annoying part is that their staff is not fully connected.
Oh.
So the staff like turns. They're all the same. They're all the
Waz scepter.
The Waz scepter. But they like turn, and then I can technically pull it out, and I'm just like, why is it not just stuck? Like I should just glue it probably or something.
Maybe you can just be like, all right, you get to hold this staff today.
Yeah.
Just interchangeable staffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually I'll get one. I can't find one for Nebuhat either, and I really want one for Nebuhat, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be a harder one that you're not gonna
difficult. Find. Eventually I'll get them. I'll find them.
Hiccups. Hiccups.
Incense is also important. My 2 go-to is myrrh and frankincense, and honestly I feel like that's just like your basic starter kit if you wanted to make one.
Yeah. I used to burn so much incense. I'm too scared to do it in this apartment because our fire alarm system is very sensitive.
Yeah.
This is also...
afraid to do it too.
Oh! Wait, I'm going to show you this. I forgot 2 other things I'm going to show you that I thought about. 3 other things I thought about. Because I just find so much weird Egyptomania. This is not Egyptomania. I just bought this at Five Below, and it's literally the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's an incense burner.
Use it for Medjed.
So, it is a Medjed. It is a Medjed. So, yeah, it's completely hollow, and his little face hole. And I've yet to burn it, but I think it's going to be really funny. The other one that's funny is this one, which is so... It's so bad, like the hieroglyphs are really bad. I found this thing at a bargain hunt, which is a weird store in Memphis, Tennessee that was just around the corner from my apartment, and I would go in there to try to buy stuff, and I found it in like an unmarked box, like just a white unmarked box, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, is that Nefertiti? And I'm like, it's literally like the bust of Nefertiti, and then it does that, and then it has a whole, like, for the, like, a stick incense and stuff, and so I've never burned on this one, but the thing I did burn on was this.
Ooh.
Which is pretty cool, actually. Nice. Actually smells amazing, because it still has all the ashes and stuff. But this one I do like, because it makes a really cool image for burning and stuff. I can't remember, I feel like I found this on Amazon, which I don't shop on Amazon anymore, but, like, I feel like this was everyone gives me tons of Amazon gift cards at Christmas, and I was like, let's go find some stuff. And so I bought this and like a 20 incense kit that had like 20 different types of incense. And so I just was like, yeah, let's go for it. But
that's fantastic.
I need to burn some more incense because this just smells so amazing. I used to do a lot of that. That was like kind of in the pandemic is when I really started getting into that, and I was done writing my thesis, and I was like, what am I gonna do with my days now? Maybe I'll meditate and burn some incense.
Yes. I'm down. Like, come talk to me about this stuff. I love this stuff too.
I know. I actually have this really cool IKEA. It's this little IKEA like mini shelf and stuff, and it's all this like unfinished wood. And I bought it because I really wanted to paint an Om sign on it, and I wanted to just like paint the whole thing, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So now it looks like it doesn't look, it just looks very plain, but it holds all my incense, and like there's a ton of incense in there because I just kept buying it for a while, and then now I haven't burned it recently. Would love to get a fire alarm that doesn't go off even when I'm just cooking my dinner. So I haven't risked it in this apartment. I'm not even joking. Our apartment, it goes off all the time.
Oh no.
So I'm very scared to risk it, especially because there's one right outside my bedroom door. There's two in our apartment, one in the kitchen and one outside my bedroom door. So
that would be so.
Maybe I'll do it on the balcony or something. Maybe that'd be better.
Yeah.
But I love incense, especially Egyptian musk. It smells really, really good.
Oh yeah. Myrrh is my favorite.
I think I have myrrh. I don't know if I've ever burned it. Though I probably have smelled myrrh because I was raised Catholic, and I feel like that's one of the ones that they burn for like the high holidays and stuff.
Probably that and frankincense.
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah. I did this to show how unique
I
shrines
love
can
these. I actually have that Anubis one from Ashley. Yeah. I have that. I don't have that base, but that base is really cool. I have the little statue of Anubis.
I think she made it. If she's still in chat, I think Ashley and then Lotus Feather.
Oh, that's
two patrons. They're my two patrons, and then Patan Masu is a mutual.
You painted
of
yourself.
mine
That's so
Instagram.
cool. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the scale and the
Ashley
little.
did me.
I love that one. And I like the candles. Those candles of Lotus Feathers are so good. They're like the dedication candles that you see, but it's all for it's their name. So yeah, there's Osiris.
I think it's
I'm trying to figure out what the one on the far left is, but that's Isis. Yeah, Isis, Nephthys. Oh, it's the siblings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh. I know. I can know that. I can read hieroglyphs. I know that one. I should know that. Melissa knows the gods. I swear.
they showed the because I asked, I was like, hey, I'm making a slide to show how unique shrines are. Would anybody want to share the shrine? Because sometimes, you know, people want to keep that very close to them, and
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to do it if they're uncomfortable or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ashley and Lotus Feather were both like,
Take.
I'll do it. And I'm like, sick. and then they posted it, and I'm like, oh, I need to up my shrine game, guys. Look at this.
This one for Ptah is like crazy.
It's insane. His stuff is insane.
He
does take him outside, and he also even takes him outside of his backyard into like the desert and give offerings.
Cool.
And it is intense.
Yeah. He's got a lot of cool stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything Ptah.
My husband's home. He just walked in.
No.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
I'm worried about him. I was like, where are you?
Yeah, I finally just got a Thoth statue. He's a tiny one.
I think he brought... Oh, look at him!
This was from that New York shop. They had a whole series, and I was really... I tried not to buy every single one. I ended up only buying this one. Oh, I bought Hawthorne, but I was kind of dumb. I already had a Hawthorne one. I have,
Jehuti.
I had... This one I've had since I was a child, of Sekhmet. Which is... This is like a replica of,
Yeah.
I think I got this when I went to the King Tut exhibit when I was a kid, because I've had this for a very, very long time.
That's fantastic.
But then these ones I got at the Louvre. So I have like a little Hathor and Osiris. And then this was the matching one for Hathor. I was like, oh, I don't have... Oh, no, this is Mott. I'm dumb. Although she has a sun disk on her head, so that's why I thought it was... No, yeah, so I got Mott, which is pretty good. So I don't have that one.
Nice.
Yeah, Star. That's what I thought. I was like, this one I think is based on an original one. Her little arm broke off at one point, but it's all glued in and good.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, these ones I found at the spiritualist shop. So this is like, there were tons, and I want to go back to that shop and buy more, because the spiritual shop that's close to me here it has kind of random general ones, and then they'll have like an Egyptian box, and I'm like, okay, I don't really need an Egyptian box. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I do have two leather boxes that I found at a thrift store that are Egyptian, that are made in Egypt. One's that's got Nefertiti, and one has a whole like Book of the Dead scene on it and stuff. Though that one is locked, and I have yet to open it. There's nothing in it, I can tell, but I've yet to fully open that one. But yeah, I think that's all I have. I have another Ma'at with her wings open, but that's it. I do have a Taweret pop figure from Moon Knight that my friend gifted me, even though I have not watched Moon Knight because I don't have time.
Oh man. Oh shit. It's good for entertainment. I liked it a lot.
There's plans to... The thing is, I know that when I watch it, I'm gonna have to make content out of it, so it's automatically going to become a multi-hour like feature to do all of the episodes and such. But my friend is gonna... If I can watch it with her, then we will do the whole thing and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah. Because yeah, I have two bust statues that I've had for a while.
Nice.
But yeah, I want to get some of the lesser. I have a Medjed pin that I wear on my lanyard to work. That one of my mods bought me.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Native, is there any followers of Atenism? I don't think so. At least modern followers of Atenism. Have you ever heard of anyone worshiping Aten within Kemeticism? Yeah.
I haven't. No.
No, because I can assume that no matter what, most Kemeticists are polytheists. So, like, if you're going to worship Aten, then you're not a polytheist, technically. So, like, yeah. Which, granted, that wasn't necessarily true. That's another kind of misnomer, is that, like...
Yeah.
Other gods were worshipped during the Amarna period. Mainly household gods. Taweret, Hathor, Bes, things like that. But yeah, it's like... That's kind of a big thing that I've also kind of wanted to study, which is what I did my senior thesis on, is that, like, why is it always taught in school that, like, Akhenaten would rain down terror if you would worship any other god, but then that's not true, really. Like, there's a whole series of shrines out in the workman's village that were not dedicated to Aten. And my whole senior thesis was that I found databases of small finds that mentioned those 3 gods, and I mapped them, and I put them, like, on a map as to where they were found, and, like, there were items found everywhere, but it was in higher concentrations in places that are, like, the lower classes of peoples. But there was also stuff found in the royal apartments. So, like, kind of the, like, yeah, okay, you can assume maybe he was a little bit more strict for, like, his court, but, like, kind of everything else, it didn't really matter. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was at least somebody who was just like, I'm gonna worship the Aten, which...
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing is that, like, people had to move with the pharaoh. If your entire livelihood has been, like, making amulets for the royal family, or making something, or painting things, and then they move a whole city, guess what? You're going with them, because otherwise you're stuck in a city that no one's living in, that you're not going to make food or money. So, like, they're all going to follow him because they don't got anything else. Like, just looking at the very practicality of it, whether or not they really worship the Aten, or whether or not they really saw the pharaoh as, like, a son of Ra, like, they gotta live. So they gotta follow him and stuff.
Gotta do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. These shrines are very cool, though.
They are. I need to up my shrine game.
But I love the papyrus in the jars. Those are so cool.
Me too.
That's the other thing. I was trying to find if I could own an authentic papyrus plant, but they're very hard to find.
Yeah.
And I'll probably kill it at that point.
I'm terrible with plants.
I was so good. I was so good at during the pandemic, and I literally realized I hadn't watered my plants in, like, 2 weeks. And then I went out to the porch and I was like, oh god, they're dying. And it's getting colder, so I was like, oh no. They all gotta come inside soon. Ooh.
That's my satin. Yep, that statue.
I love it. Did you draw that?
I did.
That's so good. I love
it. I did draw them because I can't find statues of them, so I'm like, you know what? Here you go.
I love that.
So.
And all the
it's
crystals.
I drew Neptep first because whenever I was first trying to do my priestess stuff, I was doing it for her, and then, like, the course that I was in for it kind of fell through, and so I took a step back. And I forget what year, I think it was like my 20th year anniversary of drawing, because I know what day it is, and I kind of, like, celebrate by drawing on that day. I did that. And I found, like, the perfect frame for it, and I'm like, I have to do it.
I love that frame. That's great.
I think I got it at Target. I think that's
very cute.
At Target. But I felt it was very important to say that the most important part of the equation for shrines is you, because there are practitioners who can't have a shrine or altar space for whatever reason. Like, you don't need any kind of elaborate or aesthetic space for the Nachiru to build that relationship. You just need you, and that's the most important thing. I didn't have a shrine for the longest time because I was living with my parents. I didn't know if it was okay, so I was kind of, like, hiding it as I was first getting into it. I didn't want it to be known, and later on, when I moved to Seattle the first time, I didn't have the space. Yeah. So now I do. So it just, you are the most important component in any kind of shrine space.
You know what I just realized? Is that we both have the pyramid Lego set behind us.
Sean, my husband, got me that for Christmas last year.
I literally got it for Christmas last year from my brother. I'm literally like, oh my god, we are the same people. I saw him staring. I was like, is that the pyramid Lego set? I was like, oh fuck, we are the same people.
I was so excited when they released that. I'm like, Sean, I need this.
So the funniest thing is that I remember kind of when they released it, and then I like a couple days before Christmas I was running around the mall and they had it at a Barnes and Noble, and so I posted it on like my Instagram story and I'm like I need or whatever, and then my brother ended up buying it for me for Christmas and I was like, did you see my Instagram story? And he's like, no. And this is my brother who's like, one, I can't give good gifts for because he's impossible to buy for, but like we're not as close as my other brother, and so it was like a real like, oh my god, he won for best gift that Christmas because I was like, this is great. I don't know if you have it. I need to redo it, but I bought a lighting system for it. There's like this.
No, I don't.
There's a website. Where's the box? Oh shit. I have the box still here somewhere. Yeah, I will send it to you if I find it. There's like a website that is all about, you essentially like, you tell them what Lego set you have and they have a lighting set for it. Unfortunately, I have to rig it up so that it is connected to like an outlet rather than the battery power because it just does not work. Yeah. But I bought the extra one that comes with a remote, so then they're on 4 different levels, so it changes. You can change. Oh my god, it's like literally amazing. I need to like rework it so that I can actually like keep it on all the time because essentially the batteries die very quickly. But it's very cool. There's also apparently a website where if you buy 2 of those, you can make a full pyramid, and it gives you the instructions on how to make a full pyramid. Yes. I'm also very much contemplating doing that, but I don't have space for a full pyramid. I just have enough space for that.
I don't have enough space for it either, and I'm just like, I wanted to do that, and then, it's okay. Our 2 pyramids make the whole.
It does. It is. It is on each coast. I love that. It's absolutely true. Thanks, Nat. Have a good night.
Good night. Sleep well. So,
all right.
Yeah. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty on how I recommend connecting to the divine should you wish to partake.
Absolutely.
Honestly, simply put, you just welcome them in your space with pure heart and offerings, and the rest will follow. I always recommend a daily meditation practice. You start with just like 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes like a couple days a week. Starting with that will eventually build up into a more deep, like a deeper meditation practice. Sometimes it's really, really difficult to do, so that's why I'm like 5 minutes a day. Start with 5 minutes a day. A lot of this will rely on faith and intuition, because I'm sure most of you are wondering, how do you know they're in your space? How do you know they're done with your offerings? It's intuition. And the best way that you can build that is through meditation and practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Oh, yeah, I've seen that statue before. That's the one that all those people were making the ghost videos about, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. This is Sekhmet inside of the little temple for Ptah in Karnak. I was very, very, very blessed to be able to meet her when I went.
Amazing.
And that was like the peak of my trip. Like, I remember my mom's like, "Oh, so how are the pyramids?" Because I just the day that I went to the pyramids, how were the pyramids? I'm like, "Oh yeah, they were okay." And she was like, "What?"
That's what a lot of people
Mom,
say.
I met Sekhmet. Like, what are you doing?
Even me, I'm literally like, yeah, going to see the pyramids are gonna be great, but like, we gotta spend like 7 days in Thebes, right? Because I gotta go to every single, like, that's the kind of funny thing. It's like, I love the old kingdom, but like, not as much as the new kingdom. So like, sorry, not sorry.
Like,
it's gonna happen. I was actually looking at an art. Somebody posted on some Facebook of like Egypt fans that I'm in, and they were like, "Is it like, can 13-year-olds go inside the pyramid?" It was like the question that they asked to like the group or something, or like can like will they be able to or something? And so all these people in the comments were like, "I mean, you could, but it's kind of boring inside." And I'm like, "Oh, dagger to the heart." And I'm like, I understand there's no decoration, but like, come on. Not a corbelled ceiling, and I'm like all this stuff, but it was just very interesting to read the comments of being like, yeah, it's cool, but like yeah, I guess. I'm like, I would die that I wouldn't if I can't go in.
We went inside the Pyramid of Unas, so we got to see the pyramid texts.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
since we did that,
I'm going back and forth on how many pyramids I'll actually want to go in because
yeah,
I can get a little claustrophobic. I'm a big person, and my father is also a large person, so I don't know how much we're gonna fit in, and also I get very sweaty, and that just makes me miserable. So we're gonna suffer. We're gonna suffer and just live. So I gotta pick the pyramids carefully. So yeah, pyramid text.
yes.
Unis, I'm gonna keep that in my mind. That like, yeah, probably more worth it than the others.
I would do the Pyramid of Unas then, and then see how you feel with that, and then see if you want to go into like the Great Pyramid or not.
Yeah.
Because like, it is whenever you're going down, it's going down, and you're ducking.
Yeah.
There are spaces that you can stand up for like a split second.
Yeah.
And then all the way up, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I actually smacked my head off of the Pyramid of Unas.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. That's going to happen. And my dad's going to be pissed about it, and that's absolutely going to happen. Thank you so much, Local Bandit, for the follow. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to go into the Great Pyramid, but the other ones, all the rest of them, we're going to take it trial by error. Do a little bit of research and just be like, yeah, you know what? I may not be able to fit inside that one.
It's inside. But I'm average, so I'm like 5'4". So.
Yeah, I'm 5'11". I'm tall. My dad's 6'4", so it's who knows what he's gonna just naturally fit in, like just in the easiest way.
I mean, as long as you can.
Granted, he's gone caving, and I would never go caving, so he will probably try his best, even if he can't fit. Local Bandit, you're 6'6". That's impressive.
That is impressive. I think my brother's 6'3".
Both my brothers and my dad are all 6'4", 6'5" and then I'm a hot 5'11", and my mom's a 5'8", nice. Because she's slowly shrinking with her scoliosis. Oh. But I'm the oldest and the shortest, and that annoys me. It always happens that way, though.
That's alright. My brother's younger than me too, so I'm the short one.
I hate it. All right.
Okay, so when you're building this relationship with the divine, you have to remember that it does take time and dedication. Just like any physical relationship would. The more you practice, the more that you'll unlock and understand. And I completely understand the illogical line this kind of crosses, but it's a good reminder that no spiritual or religious practice is fully logical, and this is why you rely on faith and intuition. Your experiences will reflect on that. You also have to remember that everyone's experience on this path, whether it be Kemetic or not, will be unique to them. So how Set comes to me and how he treats me will be different than how he comes and treats you. Comparing your experience with somebody else's will only hinder you and keep you from growing that relationship with the divine. So it's important to take your time and remember that it isn't a race. These things usually take up your lifetime, or even lifetimes, if you believe in that kind of stuff, if you should choose to do so. There are instances where, like I'm going to use my patron Peps for an example, where, because she's also a devotee of Set, she and I will have like similar experiences, but then we'll also have like our own UPGs or unverified personal gnosis, and that's just the experience that she has with Set, and then like I have with Set. They'll have their baseline personalities that everyone will get, but it just depends on like your relationship with that deity and what they choose to show you. It does. It takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of intuition, and a lot of us do struggle with self-doubt and imposter syndrome.
You're in the right boat. You're in the right boat. We're all in that. So Egyptologists themselves we're all in that boat as well. So
sick. Wonderful. I'm not alone.
Why is my name MelissainDeNile is directly as from my imposter syndrome of essentially what grad school like turned me into, pretty much. It's just like I was talking with one of my coworkers today who like is an archaeologist but not focused on anything else, and I was telling her just like the woes of like the Egyptology professors that I had, and she's just like, it is so interesting to me that such a similar field with archaeology can be so different when it comes to like more socially within it. Like, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, because like I know so many archaeologists who have great professors who you can talk to them by their first name, and you can like hang out with them, and like da and like all this stuff, and it just, and it, she's just like, it's just so shocking. I was like, it was really about like mainly probably because my school was smaller and they wanted to kind of show their worth and didn't want us to embarrass them. Anytime I had to ask a question to another like Egyptologist somewhere, I had to go through them. It's a whole big kit and caboodle. But yeah, that's where all my imposter syndrome comes from. And then the thing is that like that I can't even call myself an Egyptologist when I only have my master's and stuff like that. It's like all that is kind of, I only did 2 years, so it's like I don't feel like sometimes that I can call myself an Egyptologist, and like, yeah, all that stuff.
You put in the work.
I know, but it's only 2 years versus 6 years of work. And the other thing is that like I can't answer. There's so many questions that I don't know the answers to, and that is both half because I only did 2 years, and I'm not a big theory person. I'm not a big history military person. I'm an art historian, so everything is on more of an art history side, and then also I have like a full-blown learning disability when it comes to my memory. So it's like names are extremely hard for me to pick up, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's what that is, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, that is, and I usually just have to double check myself with both anxiety and memory problems and all that. So you're in the right boat.
Do the same thing.
Imposter syndrome is, we're all here. We're in denial.
Imposter syndrome besties.
Yes. Absolutely. Maddie, that sounds awful. Maddie, you're also an archaeologist, but I can't remember what you did your master's in specifically, but that happens. Yeah. That yeah.
Oh.
I can't. Yeah.
There are some questions that I don't even know. I there's no shame in saying, hey, I don't know. Let me look this up for you.
Yeah. I do that all the time.
Yes. I have to do it too. So.
Sorry, Maddie. I was wondering what you did your master's in. I couldn't remember if you had a more specific specialty within archaeology, or if you just did general archaeology. I just couldn't remember. I'm out of water. Oh yeah, you're on the science side of things.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that is like the big main thing. Like quite literally, somebody asked me about carbon dating the other day, and I was like, oof. That's the science side of archaeology that I do not know. I cannot do the science side of it. I'm only on like the art history, social sciences and such. But yeah, I can understand that just on more of a. I mean, it should be shocking that like. Unfortunately, that makes sense for that kind of specific field, like with genetics and like with that more sciencey stuff. It should be shocking that my art history professor who teaches language was such a dick to me as my advisor and stuff. Like, he should have been more chill. There's a whole big thing. It was in the pandemic, and I was like, he's not answering my emails, and I was like, that's impossible because I know you are stuck in your apartment, sir. I know you're there. You are not wandering classes. I know you're stuck in your apartment because I'm stuck in my apartment. So answer my goddamn emails. All this stuff.
Oh, shit. And here I am. I'm just sitting here like, I just have a degree in graphic design.
That? I mean, I cannot do that. So we embrace everything.
It has its perks because then I can design all my own stuff, but
I mean, damn, I would love to know Photoshop. Jesus Christ,
I'll teach you.
I would love to know how to draw digital. Like, yes, would love that.
Yeah, I'll teach you.
That's the thing is, I actually have I have a drawing tablet kind of. It's not a real drawing tablet, but it's kind of that. And I've been wanting to like draw my own merch and things, so I don't have to pay people to. I just need to figure it out. I don't have a nice. The thing is, I don't have Photoshop. I don't have like a platform that I could like actively use that drawing pad to draw unless it's paint.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm pretty good at paint, but that's not obviously. It's not obviously the vibe. So. Oh, I love Publisher. I'm a Publisher babe.
Ooh, there you go.
Krita. I weirdly feel like I actually have that downloaded. I'm gonna look at my desktop in like 5 seconds after this is done. I feel like I actually have that one. Okay, we have
I think this is our last slide.
Yeah, I think we have an ad break for 30 seconds. So
Okay, sorry.
drink some water. I have no more water, so I'm gonna pretend to drink water.
I'll drink some water for you.
Yeah, drink some water. I'll eat some chocolate covered espresso beans. I'm sorry, Maddie. I'm sorry. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's weird, Maddie, because I mean I can see my ad break, so it's weird that I didn't see that one that you were in. It's weird. I don't understand how ads work. That popped up in my OBS suddenly, where it's like it tells me when there's an ad break, and I can technically delay it if I want to, and I just didn't know that they updated that and stuff. But okay, last slide.
Last slide, guys. So, what do I do as a priestess?
Very good question.
Right now, yeah, very good question. Right now, I'm just like teaching Kemetism, guiding new people, trying to fulfill something I wish I had when I first started, which also includes a safe community on my Patreon. I also serve under Set, so I teach a lot about him and help guide his devotees should they ask for it. I plan on leading spiritual tours to Egypt in the next few years, hopefully, if I get over my fear of flying. It's like a 10-hour drive, or 10-hour flight. It's a lot. I sometimes do rituals for Set, and I'm starting to hold sacred space. I also kind of believe that the priestess path will be unique to the individuals, especially in this modern day and age. It all depends on what the Nativo needs of us, because like I feel like what Set asks me to do will be different than what he asks someone else to do. It's just what they feel that we will be good at, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where the thought process is on that is.
Yeah, but absolutely. All right.
But yeah.
Some sources.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Here's my sources.
Yay. All right. I have a couple questions that were not answered, but if anybody else has any questions that they want to throw out, I think I got all of them. Lady Lena said, could you talk about the specific priestess prophetess of Hathor role who served at the temple of Dendara, if you know anything about that? I don't think I know anything that specific, unfortunately.
I don't think I do either.
I might have to look that up later.
I know that there are priestesses for Hetero that would be kind of like the dancers and the singers and the sistrum shakers. Chantresses.
Yeah. So what is the thing? Yeah, so we talked about the more organized religion. Biggest misconception. Have you heard of a big misconception about it?
A lot of people think it's very akin to Christianity, and it's not.
Oh!
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Did not expect that. Okay.
A lot of people.
In what way do you think? In the more organized way, like masses and.
I don't know.
It's very weird.
Think their thought process are, because there's like a lot of people believe like the 42 negative confessions are like the 10 commandments and they're their sins and all this stuff, and I'm like, there's no sin in Kemetism.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
I got a lot of hate on my Instagram when I posted something about it, and I was like, remember, there's no sin in Kemetism. I want you to feel safe and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And there's a lot of like religious trauma that a lot of people have been through because of Christianity and things like that. And so I wanted them to feel safe, and then like these people are just like, there are sin, blah blah, and I'm like, okay, but
yeah.
So a lot of people think that they're similar, and they're really not.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I never would have thought that, but I can kind of understand, because obviously Egypt is quite centered in the Old Testament and stuff. I mean, that's how I was raised Catholic, so that's how I got into Egypt really at the first time, was with all of that. And it's kind of weird, because you're right, like there isn't, in ancient Egyptian like religion, there isn't really sin, but there's obviously some sort of knowledge about like being a good person, like with the weighing of the heart, which that is one of the biggest misconceptions that I have, is that that I've noticed, is that people always use the scale when talking about Egypt and Egyptian religion, even though that does not come up until like it is. I think it's roughly talked about, I think maybe in the pyramid text, I think at least in the coffin text, but it does not really appear like imagery until much later. And so that's a very general annoyance of mine, is that people assume, if they hear something about Egypt, they assume that it's universal, that it's all time. For example, a while back, somebody posted a news article about apparently that bowling was invented in ancient Egypt, and it was because of this archaeological site that they found this long lane with these objects at the bottom that looked similar to, kind of, not really bowling pins, but like objects obviously that would be turned over. But when I looked at it, it was found in a Greco-Roman context, and I was like, so no.
Yeah. We're
talking the huge mixing bowl of the world. Who knows if this came from somewhere else? Like, you can't say that's an ancient Egyptian ideal if it's coming only if it only appears. The same thing with I just did a video about 20-sided die that comes from Egypt, and I did a little more research, and I realized it only comes from Greco-Roman Egypt. So no, you cannot say that the ancient Egyptians invented the 20-sided die. That's not. Just because it's found in Egypt, you have to know the context of the time period. And so that's just something that always happens, that people always think that it's very universal and stuff. But yeah, the Christianity and Kemeticism, I mean, it's so inherently wrong, though, because obviously it's polytheism versus monotheism. So like that's insane to me. That I would have thought maybe somebody identified it with like Hinduism or something, like another one of these, like a polytheistic religion. But
a lot of people have been, at least it's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no.
It's like, it's de-Christianizes your polytheistic practices. Like, it's one of those things. It's just, it's hard, especially when because I grew up Christian, and when I was first getting into it, it's really hard to de-Christianize yourself and know that you're not going to hell for something like this. You know, I struggled a lot.
We love the Catholic guilt in my family. Catholic guilt runs hard and strong in my blood, even though I don't go to church anymore. And I was thinking about that as well, because like I just went to my cousin's wedding, and I haven't been to a lot of weddings, but the vast majority of them have been either Catholic or well, actually no, they've almost all been Catholic except this one, which my cousin, they are a little religious, but I don't know what was happening. It was like a very short ceremony, but the guy who was the officiant was more on the religious side and stuff. And I remember thinking about like, well, I kind of miss the weddings, like I kind of miss the readings in a way. Like I miss the pace of like a wedding. So I was thinking in my head, I was like, I wonder like what I would do like for my wedding. Like, am I gonna, like, I don't want it to be this kind of short ceremony, but I obviously am not gonna do like a full Catholic mass. So I'm like, how can I find a cool bridge where like, I don't know, I get someone to read like a poem or like a, like I would still love, I still love the the one reading that it's at every Catholic wedding, which is the love is patient, love is kind, and things like that. Like that I'd include, because that's
Right.
that's not really
nice.
that's nice. It's not really ultra god kind of thing. It's just kind of the truth.
Right.
And, but I've kind of it's been hard to kind of de-Catholicize my life, especially when I went to
difficult.
Catholic school my entire childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
It always blows me for a loop when I meet people who have had no religion in their life, which is very hard for me to even imagine. I had a really fun time explaining Jesus Christ Superstar to a friend who had absolutely no contact. Like, Jesus Christ Superstar is still one of my top 10 favorite musicals, because I just think it is just an amazing musical, and its ties with, obviously, like Prince of Egypt is still like one of my favorite movies and stuff. So like there are still things, and will I love the VeggieTales until the day I die? Yes. Like, and things like that are never going to leave. But trying to explain a musical version of a story when they don't even know the original story is like so hard. like I'm like, oh yeah, and then like Judas does it, and she goes, well, who's Judas? I'm like, what do you mean who's Judas? I was like, you don't have it was very shocking for like me in college to like realize, like when I was meeting a lot of people that were coming from a lot of different places, and I was like finally out of Catholic school and stuff. Oh, you haven't been to mass since and also with you. That was a big change. I was in high school around the time that, and I still mess that up. And also with you.
Force be with you.
Yeah.
And also with you.
So you get the thing, and it's everyone messed up. It's a very hysterical like moment in time where you'd all be in church and half the people would say it and half the other people would say it, and then you'd all look at each other and you'd be like, oh shit, I forgot, because they changed everything. They changed so many of the responses, and so nobody was catching up. And then like at high holidays, there would be the people who are only high holiday families, and then they'd come in and they'd be like, everything changed, and absolutely random. So Teresa asked, how would we develop our intuition more so we could better connect with the Netru we'd like to work with?
Meditation. Getting to know yourself and your own energies and your own intuition and how it comes to you will benefit you a lot. And honestly, I have trouble doing this too, but you're going to have to disconnect. You're going to have to disconnect from social media. You're going to have to put it down. 5 minutes a day. It doesn't even have to be meditation. Just sit with yourself. Be quiet. Allow yourself to just breathe. And you can listen to music if you want to. There's sometimes I'll put on some music or some calming music, and I'll just lay in my bed and just be like, okay, here we go. It doesn't have to be something like over the top or aesthetic. Like a lot of this stuff isn't going to be that aesthetic stuff that you see on social media. It's a lot of it's going to be honestly you shutting up, you putting your phone down, and just being quiet for a little bit. There is an evidential medium, psychic medium that I like. Her name is Megan Elisa. She has a YouTube video about sitting in the power. I suggest starting with that. See if that works for you, and then do that. If that way you get to know like your own energies, and then you can ask your deities to come in and be like, all right, that way you can learn their energies and then trust in your intuition. Trust in yourself. Yeah. Which it's difficult, especially when you do have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Very hard.
But breathe and know that imposter syndrome is a scam.
Yeah. Very hard. Thank you so much, Rahab. Hope you enjoyed. Prince of Egypt is like very interesting. Good. It is technically their names are correct-ish.
Yeah. Because
technically, even though they don't follow the Bible, they do technically have Seti the first and his son Ramses II. So technically that is accurate. But yeah, the pyramids are on the wrong side of the river. There's lots of fun stuff that like doesn't line up and stuff. But it's such a masterpiece of animation and music. And technically, there's now a stage musical of it, and they actually added a lot of pretty. Granted, I'm only listening to it. They did create a white crown, and it looks really silly because they made it really short and squat, so it looks really weird. But there's actually like one song that they add that is because they take away the playing with the big boys now, which is like an iconic song, but like it's not supposed to be like a comedy musical kind of, so the two priest characters are not really included. They're kind of combined into a like I think a vizier kind of character, but they do a section where they list out all of these pharaohs' names in like the closest to ancient Egyptian that we have, and it's actually really nice because I was like, ooh, I know those guys, like that's actually really cool. And it's talking about how like ancestry and like these are the kings that came before us and stuff, and so I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. But yeah, I need to see it on stage. I think there might be rumors that it's coming to the US. It's only been in on the West End in England. But yeah. If you could pick, I know you have two already, but if you could pick another god or goddess to focus on or dedicate to, which one would you choose?
You're gonna set me up. I saw that and I started laughing, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I suddenly thought, I was like, oh, that's a great question, because I was like, I don't know, just like, because it's kind of funny. Well, I will admit, it's kind of interesting that like, obviously y'all are polytheistic, but you do focus, which, I mean, the ancient Egyptians did too, I guess. Like, they did, like, if you worked at a particular temple, you would focus on one. But it is interesting that, like, it is all polytheism, but no, I'm all that set and stuff. So, it's kind of funny like that, I guess. But yeah, do you have a backup one that you'd like to delve into? I don't know. Sid could do something. I feel like that could happen. You just like fall out with anyone.
Disclaimer: I absolutely love Set, and I would not change it for anything in the world.
Yeah.
But I also really love Anpu, and I feel like that. I know that's like.
Yeah. They're very similar in certain ways.
Yeah.
So.
I do love Anpu. Nemethet, of course. But there's so many to pick.
I know. To be honest, like, I think I would really be into Newt. I think that would be one of my highest ones, just because I just love her imagery, and I love that she's the sky, and I love that she just stretches over, and I just think that's a very, very fitting for like a more like maybe nature kind of focus and stuff. But yeah, she's just so cool.
I call her Sky Mom.
Sky Mom, yeah, great. I love it. Absolutely. That's what she is. She is. She has absolutely
She's
Sky Mom. And Geb's ground dad.
Yeah. Earth Dad.
Earth Dad. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing. But the other one that I put out, because I thought about this as we were literally pre-talking before the stream went live, is if Amber knew anything about Kemetic yoga. And I know a very small thing about Kemetic yoga that I can talk about, and how unfortunately utterly ridiculous it is, because it is not a more... It sounds like it's a religious focus, but from what I have barely researched, it does not seem to be, so that's why I feel comfortable saying it's kind of ridiculous. But what do you know about Kemetic yoga? And I will tell you what I know about Kemetic yoga.
I just know it's a thing. That's literally all I know, because whenever I saw it, it gave me the heebies. So I'm like, that's sus. And so I didn't look into it.
Yeah. From what I remember, I've gone to his website before, sometimes on stream, but I also don't want the wrath. From what I remember, it is a fairly like recent thing, and it's pretty much one guy that kind of started it all. Literally, usually you can just search Kemetic yoga, which I'm just like, But the one thing that is like the thing that is the most ridiculous, well, we'll go to the Wikipedia page and stuff. Of course, developed in the 1970s, which it makes sense because it obviously probably does come from like Kemeticism, but it's also the 70s, and what is going to describe is very 70s-esque and such.
Yeah.
The form of yoga, this is a form of yoga inspired by ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. And I'm sorry, it's just like the stupidest shit I've ever heard. So I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean, but I have to be mean. So this is what the Wikipedia says. Kemetic yoga's practice was developed in the 20th century by claiming association with some hieroglyphic texts from ancient Egypt, as well as the wall carvings and paintings on Egyptian temples, which portray pharaohs in stretching postures. So stupid. Essentially, at least from the one website of the Kemetic yoga guy, is that they are claiming that yoga does not come from India, but it comes from ancient Egypt because of all of the images on the walls, with Newt being one of the more obvious ones, where she's like in the plank position, obviously, or which is I can't remember what the actual yoga whatever so very interestingly, it says, this Wikipedia page continues on saying, the Kemetic term for this practice is samatawi, which it's a very common phrase in ancient Egypt, so like I can understand that it's like making double and stuff.
Yeah.
Which means joining of the lands of Upper Kemet and Lower Kemet, and is represented by the gods Heru and they're writing it really weird. This is how they wrote Samatawi on the Wikipedia page. Smaitawi, which technically is the SM doesn't make any sense, but then they wrote Heru. They wrote Sebek. Is that supposed to be Sobek?
Yeah, that's a different spelling for Sobek, I think.
It is, but also that's not Upper and Lower Egypt. It's not Sobek. So it is Horus, but it's not Sobek. Tying ropes around the Semai symbol, which depict the spine and the lungs. That is true. The Sema part is the esophagus and lungs of a cow is what that symbol depicts.
Yeah.
But the symbol asserts the use of breath as the life forcing opening the energy centers along the spine and brain that enlighten human consciousness. But yeah, it's started in the 1970s by claiming association with translating and interpreting ancient hieroglyphic texts called Medu Necher, which would be, I don't know what Medu is. Yeah.
That's the hieroglyphs.
Yeah. Images resembling stretching and meditation poses which were found in Egypt were used in the creation of Kemetic yoga. Asanas. Sorry, I was looking at that and I was like, how the heck do I say that word? Because it's only three letters in a range. Asanas, which is a body posture, a general term for a sitting meditation pose. That's what that is. And then there are mantras and stuff. But no, I think the big guy is Asar Hopi is the big guy. The big guy. Is this his website? Which one is it? Oh yeah, that's him. Okay. Everyone's getting this link. Downward facing dog. That's what Newt is in. That is correct. Yes. Yeah. So the pictures on this website are just.
What is this?
This is his page. This is where I first discovered Kemetic yoga, and it just apparently it's Master Yasir Hotep's 70th birthday party.
Oh my god, we should go.
We should go. But then the crazy thing is he does tours of Egypt and stuff. And I'm like, there's just a lot going on that I'm just like. But it's so weird because he's doing these poses, like there are all these images of poses, and I instantly am recognizing them as obviously like images of literal like Egyptians, and like but the weird part is like it's like, how do I describe to him that what he's doing is just how the ancient Egyptians wanted to depict the entire body? Because he's doing the profile the profile and frontal mixture and stuff. They're doing a Healing Sun Kemetic yoga retreat and teacher training in Jamaica.
Ooh.
And apparently they also went and did a yoga training and spiritual tour in Egypt.
Oh no, Paps.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting, and I don't know how much of this is mixed with actual Kemeticism, and if there are people who are Kemeticists and also practice this and stuff. But yeah, there's something on this website. What is Kemetic yoga or something? Where it's just it literally somewhere here it's like, oh yeah, Kemetic yoga emerges from, and it also has TM after every single Kemetic yoga. Emerges from one of the old. Yeah, it's just trademarked, but I guess by this guy. It's from one of the oldest known civilizations, which is ancient Egypt, properly called Kemet in northeastern Africa, and rivals the evolution of yoga in India. And I'm just like,
sources, please.
Sources! Please give me the papyrus piece where they're like, this is our yoga class, please, because it's developed by studying, translating, and interpreting the commonly called hieroglyphic texts of Kemet. What does that mean? Commonly called hieroglyphic. And the images of yogic postures that are clearly pictured on the walls of Kemetic temples. I'm just like, it boggles my mind, because can you just imagine, like, with all of the priestess stuff that you have to do, you also have to be doing yoga, like, at the same time. Like yeah, like,
I feel like set, honey, I don't think I can do this.
Set, I can't do that downward dog right now. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be in the child's pose the entire time. Which hysterically, Star, if you're still here, Star posted on our Discord, yesterday they learned a new, like, this very interesting, like, imaging. Actually, you'd probably love it. There's, it's on our Discord in, is it in the general? Yes, if you just scroll slightly up in the general, where Star, it's like this interesting thing. I can't remember if Star wrote what it was called on Discord. Tekenu, which is this very weird, like, appears to be a priest all bundled up and, like, it looking like, surprisingly, in the child's pose and being, like, dragged by, like, a sledge or like a sled somewhere. But only in, like, funerary context and stuff. And so I suddenly was like, oh wait, I did think about this yesterday, actually, Star. I was like, that kind of looks like a child's pose that he's in.
He does.
But yeah, I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, an animal skin and stuff, so.
That's neat. Okay.
But yeah, I just thought about that. I was like, oh, Kemetic yoga. Okay, maybe they did find child's pose somewhere. But yeah, it's kind of,
that's cool.
It's very interesting, and it's like but yeah, I discovered Kemetic yoga, and I was like, oh, what's going on?
I'm sure there are some people who do. I personally do not.
Yeah. I was gonna say, this says, the people of ancient Kemet practice a unique style of yoga that predates the yoga of India and practices the philosophy. The practice and philosophy of yoga in India was informed by knowledge that came out of Africa. Fact is, examples of Indian yoga can be found in ancient Egypt, but examples of ancient Kemetic yoga cannot be found in India. The conclusion one can draw from this is the yoga of Egypt is much older than found in India. Yeah. Sources! From my very, very small basic knowledge of Indian archaeology, the unfortunate thing about India is that it's an extremely wet climate, and so only stone pieces survive, and very much so of the oldest Indian, like, cultures was heavily based on, like, wooden architecture, wooden sculpture, and unfortunately have not survived. And in general, India as, like, a modern country is not very focused on archaeology, like, in general. It does occur sometime, but what my professor told me was that they don't have I think they got a lot of things they got to worry about. Like, and unfortunately, archaeology is something that just gets put aside for a lot of times. They do actually have. There is one museum in India that has an Egyptian mummy, though. But he was in not very good condition because it was very humid and he was not temperature controlled. So I think he's doing better now. But again, problems and things. This is why I can't get a microphone, because I'm gonna do that constantly. Can't get a microphone, or I gotta do it like all the way up here, so it's like really far away.
Do that just so I don't knock it.
But yeah, so it yeah, that's process of elimination is not scientific. It's not how the scientific method works. So.
No.
Oh, Saturday night, there's a woman on TikTok that says the chakra and yoga originated is probably somebody who follows Kemetic yoga. Probably because this obviously, I mean, I hate to say it, yes, Egypt is older, so like automatically anything, if you find something in Egypt, yes, probably it is older than anything else because there wasn't a lot of other civilizations around when Egypt was around. But sources. And Egypt also traded like it. Oh, she does. Saturday night. Give me your TikTok handle if you remember it, because I'm very curious and I want to. Because I hate to say it, this guy just kind of weirds me out. I'm wondering. I want to see maybe. What's up with her?
A lot of TikTok stuff weirds me out.
I know. I know. I'm kind of like. Yeah. This guy. Unfortunately, this whole thing, his whole entire website is just so capitalized, I guess is the best way to like say it, because it's just like teacher trainings and classes and events, and that he has a studio in Chicago and like you can rent the studio space, and it's just like all this stuff. It's just like heavily, and that's why I think it is less I think about more of the religion, but yeah, it's just a lot of extra stuff that I don't know what the vibe is of it.
I think I know where it probably stemmed from, but I don't know if you want me to talk about it on stream.
If you have any idea, yeah. Otherwise, we're ready to wrap up anytime. But yeah, if you have any idea, I'd be interested.
It's probably the Afrocentric movement.
Yeah. That was my other that is also a theory of mine as well. It's very interesting, but yeah, I can understand that being part of the Afrocentric movement within Egyptology, absolutely. A very
that's what I was thinking.
The lovely complicated Afrocentric movement, which like the Afrocentric movement in general is great. Within Egyptology, it gets a little rough, especially with American Afrocentrics people. Gets a little fishy.
It gets a little rough.
Did you watch the
space too?
Yeah. Did you watch the Cleopatra documentary?
Absolutely not.
Good. Good. We're in good company. No. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I feel really bad because there's sometimes I get Egyptians in my TikTok lives and they'll be like, "Do you think we're invaders?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. What the hell?"
Yeah.
No, and it
trying to get
my heart.
Trying to get through the concept of race and identity and ethnicity and nationality, and that one, they're all human constructs that I can understand you and everyone around us at this point, yes, has those. But to say that they weren't invented in ancient Egypt, I understand does not make sense. But it doesn't make sense. Oh, community yoga? I feel like there
has all the tea.
I feel like there might have been a better username than that one. Oh, wait a second. I think I've seen this girl before. Oh, sorry. I went to her Instagram instead, and there's just a enormous picture of onions, mushrooms, and garlic at the very top, and I was like, what? Okay,
have a
I don't
mechanical
understand this.
keyboard.
This Instagram is a little too fancy and such. Oh god, she's got so many followers though. Damn it. I have no followers on Instagram.
I don't either. It's so hard. I don't know what it is. Oh yeah, Peps has all the tea.
Has all the tea. I love it.
It's really difficult because I'm just like, how do I work the algorithm?
I've completely given up on Instagram, pretty much.
Yeah.
TikTok, I mean, I mastered it for like a hot sec, and then literally probably for the last 6 months I've barely gotten like 1,000 followers, probably, because I've also lost a lot of them. I'm like 40 followers away from 50,000, which is like the first like bigger surge that I've had. But like Instagram I gave up very quickly, because even though I was putting when MelissainDeNile started as just a blog and Instagram, I didn't do TikTok for at least a year into MelissainDeNile, and it just kicked off so much faster. It's like if you put an Instagram post, I would hope maybe that people would like it later. It never would come back. Like, that's just not the way that Instagram works. Even as much as they want it to be like a TikTok, TikToks can go viral at any time, almost, sometimes. Right. So it's like,
I went viral because I called Seth an asshole, and
yeah.
Please don't do that. Disclaimer: don't do that to your babies. You're not going to get luck. Don't do that.
Amazing.
Oh my
God.
He wouldn't leave me alone.
He's an asshole then. That's fine. Yeah.
Poor Set.
Oh my gosh.
We stand Set. We love Set here. It's fine.
Everything: energy, health, healing, Kemetic yoga, chakras. Okay.
Honestly, that gives me kind of like new age stuff. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. It gives me that new age feeling, and that gives me the ick. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like if it just was like, I don't know. It's just it's that the whole like, at least from this guy's website, maybe hers is a little bit different, but it's like the whole belief that it, like, I feel like we're just like, are we just gonna put down another like POC, another like ethnic group that like can claim that, like, are we just gonna like, and granted, obviously, like, things can be claimed respectively, kind of, and like, but I'm just like, that just seems like cultural appropriation in a weird way. That like, well, why do the ancient Egyptians need yoga? Why do they need yoga? Yeah. Like the Indians have yoga. Like they do great yoga. Like, and there's also like obviously all different subtypes and all that stuff. But like, it's the same thing with like puppy yoga or goat yoga, and I'm like, I do want that because I want the physical puppy, but like sometimes I'm like, I know yoga is sometimes more of a spiritual and like mystical thing and stuff. So, though I did take I did take a Koga class once, which was kickboxing for 45 minutes and then yoga for 15 minutes, which was great because I was dying the first half. And then pretty much the last half, she just let us lay on the ground in the darkness and listen to, like, mantras. And I was like, I like that a lot. And then she quoted Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I was the only one that noticed. And I was like, did she just quote Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think? And I'm like, how do I know that from? I was like, that's, I think it's when you hit your lowest, you're the most open to change, I think. And I was like, I think that's from Legend of Korra, and I had to look it up later because I felt like it could have been something that somebody else said, but I'm like, nope. Yes. Nope. She directly said a Legend of Korra quote, and I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, there's obviously things that get commercialized and such.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Any last questions? Because I have to go to bed because I'm going to the Renaissance Fair tomorrow, and I kind of just remembered.
Oh, have fun!
That I have to prep my outfit because I don't know what I'm wearing.
My brother's going to the Renaissance Fair tomorrow too. Jelly.
It's the last weekend, and so I'm bringing my younger cousins because they've never been.
Nice.
So.
Yay! Have fun.
Yes, I'm very excited, but I'm kind of sad that I can't drink all the raspberry wine because I should probably be responsible. I should probably be responsible for my high schooler cousins. So, but I just want raspberry wine.
Just treat yourself to one. It'll
Yeah,
be fine.
I'll take a small glass probably.
Yeah.
All right. Any last questions? I'll be on for probably another like 15 minutes or so as we go and find somebody to go raid. Although we'll see. We'll probably raid somebody. We'll see who's on. I don't usually stream on Friday nights, so I never know who's on Friday nights. I was hoping maybe Silver Sunset was, but
I want to sip. He opened up a... Oh, do I get the first one?
oh,
He's giving me the first one.
there you go.
This shit slap. Thanks, babe.
Alrighty. Everyone, please say a warm thank you to Amber. Where's my sound alert? I have a sound alert. Applause.
Oh, thank you guys.
Applause. Amazing. I learned so much. I have a new appreciation for ancient Egyptian religion, both modern and ancient. Absolutely great. And I'm definitely making you give a talk about Set because I think that's a really good, like, I love kind of those like historiography things and like looking at popular culture. Like it's Egyptomania and I love Egyptomania. So like looking at like how he was worshipped then, how he is worshipped now, and then like all the pop culture stuff would be amazing.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me. I
Thank you
appreciate
so much.